Chapter 889. The time had to be pushed back to the day before. Speaking of which, this devil incarnate pulled Huang Lei along. The two of them decided to find a place to have a New Year's Eve sex for good luck. Let's find a brothel to sleep, too boring. Huang Lei recommended a place, but the devil incarnate curled his lips. You brat, your life is too boring. How is it boring? Huang Lei was quite unconvinced. His habit was ridiculed today. Those women, when they spread their legs and lie on the bed, their lower part is as loose as cotton pants. What's the difference from raping a corpse? The devil incarnate stared at Huang Lei. Can't you be a bit more promising and do something more exciting? What's so exciting? Huang Lei was a bit annoyed. Bring two girls to the great hall of the people. Fuck, this daddy can't enter the great hall of the people, otherwise you think I don't dare. The devil incarnate was not afraid of anything, he always did whatever was exciting. Besides, we are talking about the problem of girls, not the problem of where to do it. Otherwise, why don't you go to the morgue? It's so exciting. Not going, it's too cold. Then go to the crematorium. Fuck your uncle, why are you so hardcore? Fuck your father, how can I compete with you in hardcore? The devil incarnate thought of the girls that Huang Lei liked and almost spat. He only liked the girl that played with cars, his taste was a bit normal. The rest were all overlord-level monsters. Then where to go, where to find girls? Huang Lei wanted to listen to the devil incarnate's idea, both of them were lecherous, in this aspect they were quite congenial. Unfortunately, Pewdie was not here, otherwise the three of them could form a motorcade. Let's go find a KTV. The devil incarnate suggested, find a good-looking princess to accompany us to drink, moreover, she is not a professional escort. When the time comes, we can spend some money to bring them out, we can take turns. Okay, reliable. Wait a moment, when the time comes, you better keep it to yourself. If you fucking choose one that weighs more than 100 pounds, I won't fuck her, I'll fuck your ass. People like you don't know how to appreciate beauty. Huang Lei began to talk about women again. Women who weigh more than 100 pounds, especially those who weigh more than 150 pounds, are especially exciting. Also, they're very open. They take off their clothes the moment they come up and show their two big boobs, just like the headlights of your car. TSK. Get the hell out of here. The devil incarnate almost kicked Huang Lei off the cliff. Damn it. Pick a skinny one for me. Otherwise, we can't play together anymore. Alright. Huang Lei couldn't do anything about it, but everyone was out to have fun, so he couldn't be too calculative. Now that Sub Hoodie had run away, he was able to join this fiend's incarnation and have some fun. Moreover, the devil incarnate had a fiery temper. As Li Fan's chief follower, he had to be reasonable. I have to actively share Big Brother's burden. Then you can choose one for me when the time comes, okay? That's fine. The devil incarnate finally heaved a sigh of relief. Otherwise, Huang Lei's eyesight would really make one's dick tremble. But it's New Year's Eve, most of the girls have gone home for the new year. I'm afraid those who stay back won't have many good stuff. There will always be people who stay back to earn money for the new year. The devil incarnate said, the tips for the new year are also a lot. That's true. I know a place where there will be a few girls during the new year. Shall we go there? Sure, you drive. I don't have my license. What's there to be afraid of? At most, I'll be locked up for 15 days. When I come out, it'll be the new year. Fuck, you're really arrogant. Huang Lei sat in the driver's seat and stepped on the accelerator. The car suddenly sped forward, almost throwing the devil incarnate out. Damn it, do you know how to drive? Isn't this my first time driving your car? What the fuck are you trying to provoke? Huang Lei argued, I'm just familiarizing myself with it. This daddy is the one who drives for Big Brother. Fine. Don't yell anymore. Hurry up and lead the way. I can't control my power anymore. The devil incarnate wanted to play the New Year's Eve to strengthen his luck for the coming year. The two of them drove all the way to a KTV in the city called Big Boss. This KTV was not small. There were 2 security guards at the door to welcome them. The two of them could not wait and went straight to the KTV as soon as they got out of the car. "Brother, you're here." When the security guards saw Huang Lei, he first bowed. "Fuck, you're a regular." The devil incarnate turned his head and glanced at Huang Lei. "Regular my ass. I've only been here twice. This is the second time." Huang Lei immediately argued, "He says the same thing to everyone he sees." After that, the security guard looked at the devil incarnate and greeted him with a smile. "Brother, you're here." "Fuck." The devil incarnate thought to himself, "This kid is pretending to be familiar with me." However, there was nothing wrong with this KTV. There were so many people every day. Who knew who came often and who didn't? After entering, a waiter immediately took the two of them to a private room. The private room was not particularly big. The light was dim, and it had a little charming atmosphere. A large LCD TV was hanging on the wall, and some songs were playing on it. "Two bosses, do you want to sing?" the waiter asked. "Nonsense, hurry up and let the girls come," the devil incarnate shouted. "Please wait a moment. The princess will be here soon." While they were talking, a beautiful woman in a gray uniform came in. This woman was about 30 years old. She was still charming and had a pair of peach blossom eyes. "Two bosses." This princess spoke with a little charm, "Don't worry, the girls will be here soon." When the devil incarnate saw this princess, how could he have the mood to choose other girls? He pulled the princess's small hand. "Why don't you accompany me?" "Boss, I'm only responsible for pouring the wine." The princess was different from the girls who accompanied them. They were responsible for everything in the private room, but they were not responsible for personal drinking. "The quality of our little girl is also very good. Two bosses, you can choose first." "Choose the little girl." Huang Lei also wanted to keep the peace and persuaded the devil incarnate, "Today we're here to have fun. Don't make it unpleasant." The devil incarnate thought that since this princess was so beautiful, the little girl who accompanied them to drink should not be bad. So he slapped the table and shouted, "Then hurry up and let the women in." "Coming, coming." There was a sound of footsteps outside. Then, the door of the private room was pushed open. 7 or 8 girls lined up outside and walked in one by one. But the quality of these girls was really not flattering. The first one who came in was a full 130 jean and 1.5 meters tall. The second one was at least 40 years old and had a blue face and fangs. The third one looked no different from a man. He even had a beard. According to the order in which these women came in, the devil incarnate could basically be described with a few words. Fuck. Fuck. Fuck your uncle. Chapter 890. The devil incarnate felt a deep sense of nausea and almost vomited. What the hell were these things? This KTV was really domineering. Where did these demons and ghosts come from? Fuck, they are all beauties. Huang Lei's eyes lit up as if he had entered heaven. The devil incarnate almost kicked him out. Damn it, I miscalculated. I shouldn't have let Huang Lei choose the location. What the fuck is a beauty? What the fuck are these? The devil incarnate grabbed the princess again. Tell them to scram. I've taken a fancy to you. Boss, I don't accompany customers. The princess repeatedly refused, but the devil incarnate gave her a slap. The slap sent the princess stumbling backward. Her buttocks fell to the ground, and blood dripped from the corner of her mouth. You're just a whore, yet you're giving me face. The devil's incarnation scolded angrily, asking you to serve me is an honor. Why are you pretending to be a pure saintess in front of me? Huang Lei thought to himself, things seem to be a little bad. The princess did not dare to speak and covered her swollen face. The other girls didn't dare to make a sound. They lowered their heads and shivered. The door of the private room was pushed open, and a male manager came in. He glanced at the girl lying on the ground, then looked at the strong devil incarnate and stepped forward. "Boss, why did you hit him? Did our princess do something wrong? You can complain about her." "Complain my ass." The devil incarnate cursed, "I'll let her drink with me tonight." "Excuse me, boss." The male manager kept apologizing to the devil incarnate. "She's my wife. She's only responsible for room service. She's not responsible for drinking with the guests." "Alright, Lao Wang, that's enough." Huang Lei laughed at the side. "Move aside." The devil incarnate pushed Huang Lei away, then pointed at the male manager's nose and scolded, "What's wrong with your wife? If you're a man, don't let your wife work here. I want her to accompany me today. Otherwise, I'll smash your shop." "Boss, you can't force me, what? Beat me up if you dare." "Boss, it's New Year's Eve today. It's not easy for everyone. You see, if you're not satisfied with this restaurant, you can go to another one. I'm not exchanging. Carry me out if you dare." The devil incarnate began to flip out. He sat on the sofa and had no intention of leaving. "Then please enjoy yourself. We'll be leaving first." The male manager couldn't do anything about the devil incarnate, so he supported his wife and prepared to leave. However, the devil incarnate's buttock seemed to have grown a spring. He suddenly bounced up from the sofa and rushed to the door of the private room. He pulled out an axe from behind his waist and placed it on the door handle. "I want to see who dares to step out of this door today." The male manager glanced at the devil incarnate. "Boss, there's no need to be so ruthless, right? Do I need you to teach me? When I was fighting outside, who knows where you were pinching dung balls." The devil incarnate cursed. He was in an extremely bad mood today. He had been tricked by Huang Lei and met a few demons and ghosts. Now, the girl he wanted to play with was going to be taken away. He was extremely displeased. "Friend. What kind of underworld are you from? What? You still want to mess with me?" The devil incarnate lifted his axe. "Remember, I'm called the devil incarnate. Big brother, I'm a member of the Red Dragon Society. We're family. Give me some face." The male manager said as he reached out to open the door of the private room. The devil incarnate directly chopped down with his axe and instantly chopped off the male manager's arm. The male manager screamed in pain and held his broken arm like a pig being slaughtered. The devil incarnate picked up the princess and swaggered outside. Huang Lei hurriedly followed behind. The two of them directly got into the SUV. The devil incarnate threw the princess to the back. The princess desperately hit the floor, but the devil incarnate slapped her until she fainted. "Are you fucking crazy?" Huang Lei scolded the devil incarnate while checking the princess's injury. "What? Isn't she just a whore? Let's play. That brother just now is Miss Lu's man. Who the fuck knows if it's true or not? Even if it's true, this kind of small fry can be easily sent away with some money." The devil incarnate didn't take it seriously, but Huang Lei's heart kept beating like a drum. "I found a girl, why don't you find one? When the time comes, we can play 4P. I'm not in the mood anymore. Just find a place to put me down. I'll find a brothel to sleep for the night." The devil incarnate curled his lips. "Look at you. Fine, you can get off under the bridge. That's the red light district." The devil incarnate found a place to throw Huang Lei. Then he found a random place in the wilderness and prepared to do some outdoor exercise. The devil incarnate stopped the car and opened the back door. He dragged the girl and threw her onto the hood of the car. Although the weather was a bit cold, the devil incarnate's firepower was strong. He pressed down on the girl's body and immediately smelled a perfume. "This woman is so coquettish. Still pretending in front of me." The devil incarnate took off the girl's skirt and began to untie his belt. The devil incarnate's movements were clean and neat. It was obvious that he was an experienced driver. But at this moment, there was a sudden movement in the bushes beside him. He turned around and immediately frowned. There were 6 red dragon archers standing behind him. Each of them had their bows pulled to a full moon, as if they were going to shoot the devil incarnate at any time. Lu Xinnan crossed her arms. She was wearing a velvet leather jacket, jeans, and boots. Yufeng walked over and put a black mink coat on Lu Xinnan, as if he was afraid that his master would catch a cold. Play, continue playing. Lu Xinnan's voice was as cold as the wind. Didn't you have a good feeling just now? Why, you can't play anymore. Miss Lu, what do you mean? What do I mean? I want to ask you, what do you mean? Lu Xinnan suppressed the anger in her voice. Devil incarnate, you really have guts. Not only did you kill my men, but you also dragged his wife along to rape her. You're good, devil incarnate. Why don't I give my position to you? After all, you're the real tyrant of a city. You can't go that far. I only touched one of your men. I'll pay him to reattach his hand. Isn't that enough? Bullshit. Men, take him down. Lu Xinnan waved her hand. 2 red dragon archers stepped forward and grabbed the devil incarnate. What are you trying to do? The devil incarnate did not dare to make any movements. The 4 archers were still aiming at him. He had seen the strength of these red dragon archers and did not dare to challenge them. What I'm trying to do? You'll know very soon. Chapter 891. Li Fan put down the matters of the escort agency and followed Ling Tian to Lu Xinnan's place. Dongfeng Building was Lu Xinnan's current headquarters. The entire office building was built by Lu Xinnan. Previously, Lu Xinnan had asked Li Fan to work here, but Li Fan didn't like the office environment here and rejected it. Even now, Li Fan still had to come to this office and wait to negotiate with Lu Xinnan. There were many security guards standing outside the door, but when they saw Li Fan, no one stopped them and let them in. The 2 of them didn't say a word along the way. They really didn't know what to say. Lu Xinnan's office was right in front. Li Fan put his hand on the handle, but hesitated for a moment. We have to go in. Ling Tian knew what Li Fan was thinking. He stretched out his hand and patted Li Fan's shoulder. No matter what, we brothers will stand on the same line as you. Li Fan pushed open the door of the office and strode in. Lu Xinnan stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, wearing a sexy little denim jacket. The afterglow of the afternoon shone on her body, reflecting her heroic spirit. When the sunlight fell on Lu Xinnan's body, it also showed an S-shaped radiance. Lu Xinnan stood there with her arms crossed. Although her chest wasn't big, the lines of her waist and buttocks were very beautiful. Especially when paired with a short-waist denim jacket, the black body-shaping t-shirt inside and the denim pants below, it showed off the lines of her figure even more vividly. In addition, Lu Xinnan's pair of long legs were simply unparalleled. However, at this moment, Li Fan wasn't in the mood to admire Lu Xinnan's figure. This was because in front of Lu Xinnan stood 6 red dragon archers. All of them were infuriated and had their bows drawn. Like judges, they aimed at the devil incarnate kneeling in front of them. The devil incarnate had always been sloppy, and now he was even more battered and exhausted. His hair was a mess, and his face was bruised. His hands were tied behind his back, and he knelt there silently. When he saw Li Fan walk in, his eyes lit up. He wanted to stand up, but Yufeng, who was behind him, hit him with the butt of his shotgun, and he knelt down again. Fuck you, the devil incarnate cursed. Yufeng took out a sock from nowhere and stuffed it into the devil incarnate's mouth. Ling Tian subconsciously placed his hand on his waist, where there was a Colt pistol. What, you want to fight? Lady Lu stood there, her tall and slender figure unparalleled. She looked at Li Fan and raised her eyebrows. Calm down. Li Fan pressed down on Ling Tian's hand and said to Lu Xinnan, Miss Lu, I'm already here. Isn't it a bit inappropriate to treat my people like this in front of me? You already know what happened. Lu Xinan lit up a lady's cigarette, put it in her mouth, and slowly took a puff. She looked at Li Fan with a deep gaze. I, Lu Xinan, have been in charge of the Red Dragon Society for so long because of my brother's trust in me. But now, my brother's hand is broken, and he was humiliated so much. If I didn't arrive in time, I'm afraid that his wife would have been fucked. Pay! The devil incarnate spat out the stockings in his mouth and shouted, fuck your father, isn't it just a whore? So what if I fucked her, Pa? Li Fan directly stepped forward and gave the devil incarnate a slap. Shut up! Li Fan's eyes flashed with anger. His entire person was like a god of war that crawled out of hell, with a body full of hostility. This was the first time the devil incarnate saw such an angry Li Fan. He swallowed his saliva, endured the burning pain on his face, and didn't dare to make a sound. It seemed that he had really gone too far this time. The boss might punish him. Although he had a smuggling route and some connections, how could he be compared to Miss Lu? Lu Xinan sat on the Red Dragon Society, and now the Red Dragon Society had secretly controlled the entire underground world of City A. Even some officials had to give Lu Xinan face. It could be said that she had both the black and the white. Moreover, everyone in City A knew that Lu Xinan and Li Fan were almost in the same boat. What's more, if it weren't for Lu Xinan's assistance, Li Fan's phenomenal escort agency and Bai Linlua's Special Abilities Bureau would have gone bankrupt long ago. Besides, compared to him, the two of them did it earlier. Therefore, it was reasonable to say that the boss would not protect him, and he might even punish him personally. However, the devil incarnate did not regret it. He was born with this lawless character. So what if he wanted to fuck a woman? He could fuck a nobody's wife just like that. If he did not even have this bit of courage, how could he be called the devil incarnate? Since he was going to die anyway, he might as well die a little more manly. Boss, this is my fault. Miss Lu, kill me, but before I die, bring that little woman here and let me fuck her once. Then I'll die without regrets. Slap. Li Fan slapped the devil incarnate again and told him to shut up. Lu Xinan, Miss Lu. Li Fan looked at the somewhat angry Lu Xinan in front of him and said. I know that you have to answer to your subordinates. But your subordinates have fought with you until now, and my subordinates have never abandoned me, going through fire and water until now. Li Fan reached out and placed his hand on the devil incarnate's shoulder. Although Wang Tofu is a bit of a rascal, he has been with me for so long and has never betrayed me. He has always been fighting for me, so I have to protect him. So you're saying that I've betrayed you? Lu Xinan narrowed her eyes slightly, revealing a trace of anger in her eyes. No, Miss Lu has always been good to me. I have always treated you as one of my own. Li Fan said frankly, but I understand your position. You have to answer to your brother, so I'll give him an explanation. Your brother, did he break his left hand or right hand? Right hand. Lu Xinan thought to herself, is Li Fan going to chop off one of the devil incarnate's hands? That's fine, but the punishment isn't severe enough. I need to at least add another leg. How can I touch my own people so easily? The devil incarnate's face turned pale. Without a hand, he was almost a useless person. Without his right hand, how could he fire a gun and rub a woman's breasts? Boss would rather kill him than chop off one of his hands. Boss, shut up. You don't have the right to speak. Ling Tian fiercely reprimanded the devil incarnate. He felt that chopping off one of the devil incarnate's hands was right. The devil incarnate was too impudent. It was time to teach him a lesson and let him know how to restrain himself. Meanwhile, Li Fan took out a sharp knife from the red dragon archer beside him. The devil incarnate's eyes widened. He wanted to see his hand being chopped off. A man can't be afraid. However, Li Fan placed his right hand on the table and chopped it off. Chapter 892. Blood wrapped around the broken hand flew up. Everyone was shocked. Li Fan. Ling Tian was the first to react. He hurriedly stepped forward to bandage Li Fan's wound. Li Fan waved his hand with a slightly pale face. He pressed 2 acupoints on the broken hand to stop the bleeding. The devil's incarnation was also shocked. His life was worthless, but the boss was different. The boss was young but had already worked hard to build such a foundation. He was destined to do great things. In the heart of the devil's incarnation, although he was not afraid of anything, he had always admired the boss. Now, the boss actually broke an arm for him. I really regret that not only did I not help the boss, but I also caused him to lose an arm. I'm really a bastard. Miss Lu. One hand against the other. Li Fan took 2 deep breaths to calm his blood and said, in addition, in my name, I will compensate your brother for mental damage and medical expenses, a total of 1 million. Is that enough? Lu Xinan cried. She was particularly sad, but she was the president of the Red Dragon Society. Even if she had great grievances, she had to bear it. Enough. You. Go see a doctor. Lu Xinan suppressed her voice to avoid trembling. Go now. It's not too late. Quickly thank Miss Lu for her kindness. Li Fan kicked the devil's incarnation. The devil's incarnation knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Lu Xinan. For the first time, the devil's incarnation bowed his head to someone. Li Fan's one hand was enough to change his attitude. Go, I'll go. Lu Xinan waved her hand. Watching Li Fan walk out, her body softened and directly sat down on the sofa. All the courage and anger he had just now had disappeared to who knows where. Li Fan. This damn guy. Boss, After going out the door and getting in the car, the devil's incarnation looked at the boss with a guilty look. Don't say it, we are brothers. Li Fan said, since I lost an arm, I naturally have a way to solve it. And if you lose your hand, you'll be crippled for the rest of your life. How can I be compared to the boss? I'm just a cheap life. We're all my brothers, so how can I belittle myself? Don't forget, we're here to do something big. Li Fan smiled. But think before you do anything next time. After all, I only have 2 hands to chop for you. The devil incarnate wanted to say something, but he didn't know what to say. He could only slap himself hard. I'll take you to the secondary hospital. The medical standards there are the best. Ling Tian turned the steering wheel and stepped on the accelerator. He was no longer afraid of running a red light. There's no need. I can handle this myself. As Li Fan spoke, he grabbed his severed hand with his left hand and placed it on the stump. True Qi flowed out. First, he fixed his right hand on it. Then, a trace of true Qi, like a drill, rushed into the severed meridians and blood vessels. Then, like a needle and thread, it began to suture and reconnect the severed flesh. At the same time, Li Fan activated the power of the alien bone-changing technique to reconstruct the flesh and bones, making the severed hand stronger. Soon, Li Fan's severed hand was reattached by him, but he was also sweating profusely. His internal force was empty. Only after taking an origin-restoring pill did he feel better. This treatment process looked very simple, but the control of true Qi was extremely precise. If the control was not good, all the previous efforts would be wasted. In order to reattach his arm, Li Fan almost exhausted all the true Qi in his body. Seeing Li Fan reattach his right hand just like that, the devil's incarnation and Ling Tian's eyes widened. The rumor in the pugilistic world. Your hand was cut off by Murong. We all thought it was a rumor. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be true. The 2 recovery methods are different, but it can't be used all the time. Li Fan said, the recovery process is actually very dangerous. As long as I am not careful, I will go berserk, and from then on, I will be consigned to eternal damnation. This time, my meridians have already been damaged, and I need to rest for a long time to slowly recover. If it happens again, the meridians in this hand will probably be completely destroyed, and I will never be able to practice martial arts again. Li Fan was not bluffing, it was the truth. Reconstructing an arm was something that the undying evil Buddha, imperial concubine Zhou, was good at. She was proficient in medical skills and could turn virtual into real, so reconstructing a severed arm was almost at her fingertips. But Li Fan could not do it. He did not know how to turn virtual into real, he only knew a little. The reason why he was able to reattach his arm was because of his exquisite control of true qi and the alien bone-changing technique. This method was more or less like a counterfeit. Li Fan did not want to break his arm again. If it happened again, he would really be crippled, unless imperial concubine Zhou was willing to come all the way here to make a new one for Li Fan. But what kind of person was imperial concubine Zhou? She was very elusive, let alone obediently come and treat his hand. Li Fan could not help but fantasize that if imperial concubine Zhou was his personal doctor, she could come and treat his injuries at any time. Wouldn't that be great? Thinking of this, Li Fan could not help but laugh, which scared the two people next to him. Boss, are you okay? The devil incarnate thought, could it be that when I cut his hand, I accidentally cut the boss's brain nerves? Could it be that the 10 fingers are connected to the heart? I'm fine, I'm fine. This year's New Year's Day was not very smooth. Li Fan leaned back on the chair and muttered, I saw blood several times. It seems that this year is going to be another bloody year. Which year isn't bloody? Seeing that Li Fan's hand was repaired, Ling Tian calmed down. While driving, he could not help but ridicule, for so many years, I have seen countless fights. As long as there are benefits, the bloody storm will not stop. Only Li Fan knew that Ling Tian was a spy. He did not tell anyone else. In the underworld, if others knew that Ling Tian was a spy, he would be stabbed 3 times and 6 times. Therefore, Li Fan kept the secret for him. There's a call. Ling Tian endured his temper and connected the Bluetooth. Xia Yi said that the escort agency has a client who wants you to be a bodyguard. Oh. Li Fan could not help but laugh, I take back what I said just now. This little blood is a blessing. This year, I will probably make a fortune. Li Fan was a gold medal escort, so the price naturally rose. Now, the lowest price for an escort was 1 million. He wanted to lower the price, but the other escorts did not want to do it. How could he lower the price with the title of a gold medal escort? Tell Xia Yi to calm the client. We will go back now. Li Fan was a typical money grubber. He got Ling Tian to drive and sped all the way back to the escort agency. Chapter 893. As soon as he entered the agency, Li Fan saw his golden token being taken down from the wall and placed on the square table in front of the door. This was the rule, the token of the person who used the escort would be taken. Although Li Fan felt that this was similar to the ancient times when the emperor took over his token, he still bit the bullet and obeyed the rules. After becoming a golden escort, Li Fan's token was painted with a layer of gold. In the center of the room, there was a box, but the customer didn't know where it was. What's going on? After Li Fan entered, he patted off the snow on his body and asked. We're not sure either. Xia Ho was cleaning the room. When she saw Li Fan walking over, she shook her head. That person left after putting down the box and money. He said that you just have to go to the Golden Eagle Castle and deliver the goods. Golden Eagle Castle? Li Fan was surprised. Wasn't this Yin Xiaoru's house? After Yin Wuchao died, the Golden Eagle Castle changed hands. Who would want him to deliver the goods? Yin Xiaoru? Impossible. Where did she get the million from? That girl's greatest ability was to steal and complain about being poor. What did the customer look like? Li Fan asked. He wore a big cloak that covered his face and spoke with a Sichuan accent. Xia Ho recalled. I felt that he was a little weird, but I didn't look into it for the sake of the money. Alright, Li Fan was speechless. After being with him for so long, little senior sister had also learned bad things. Money. Money was indeed a good thing. Alright, since he gave me the money, I'll go personally. Master, I'll go with you. Jiang Yi immediately volunteered, but Li Fan waved his hand. They specifically asked me to go alone, so I'll just go alone. Don't stay idle at home. Let Yan Kai teach you some feminine martial arts of Taiji. It'll be helpful for your snake strike. Got it, master. To Jiang Yi, Li Fan's words were like an imperial edict. Master didn't allow her to go out, so she could only stay at home and practice. When Master came back, he would let him see a stronger version of himself. Maybe Master would be happy. In a few days, junior brother will be going to class. Xiaoan reminded him. This was because most of the time, escorts were things that could not be seen in public. Therefore, they could only be transported by carriage or by horse. Basically, they were mainly transported by land. Yes, I know. That's why I won't take a car. I'll use my qinggong to rush there. Li Fan would start school in a few days. The college entrance examination would be held in June, and the schedule would be tight. Therefore, he had to make the best use of his time to study. The last semester's classes couldn't be delayed any longer. If there was any more delay, someone might die. As a student, it was necessary for him to enter a university. I'll be back soon. After bidding farewell to his family, Li Fan carried the big box on his back and set off on the road to Golden Eagle Castle. Along the way, Li Fan walked on the snow without leaving a trace, his speed extremely fast. There were many small roads in the suburbs, and Li Fan chose to run on the deserted roads. Therefore, no one could discover his tracks. If others saw that Li Fan could run as fast as a swallow with a big box on his back, they would probably doubt their lives. As he hurried on, he was thinking about something. Is Yin Wuchao dead or not? In Li Fan's memory, he should have joined forces with Lu Zhu to defeat Yin Wuchao. It was when he and Lu Zhu were on the way to the sword-leaning Laughing Breeze. But why did Jiang Feng tell him that Yin Wuchao was dead? Moreover, it seemed to have happened a long time ago. Why didn't he have any impression of it? Was Yin Wuchao lying, or did he remember wrongly? Li Fan couldn't figure it out. He could only find out when he arrived at Golden Eagle Castle. Li Fan was very fast, and no one disturbed him along the way. A day later, he arrived at Golden Eagle Castle. Golden Eagle Castle didn't seem to have changed much from before, but it was filled with a somber aura. The last time he came to Golden Eagle Castle, there were many Golden Eagle guards protecting him. Moreover, many people from the pugilistic world would gather at Golden Eagle Castle to rest or exchange information. Someone once said that Golden Eagle Castle belonged to the pugilistic world. But now, there wasn't a single person in Golden Eagle Castle. A cold wind blew, lifting up the sand and blowing it against the houses in Golden Eagle Castle. What's going on? Li Fan took out the water bottle on his back and drank a mouthful of water. After such a long journey, he needed to replenish his water. As a qualified escort, he had to prepare his own water and food. It was best not to eat anything along the way. Li Fan stood in front of the gate, but he couldn't sense anyone's aura. Could it be that Golden Eagle Castle had become a dead city? That shouldn't be the case. Li Fan was getting more and more puzzled. He carried the box on his back, pushed open the unlocked gate, and slowly walked inside. Golden Eagle Castle was covered in snow, and there weren't even any footprints. It seemed like no one had been here for a long time. According to the area where Golden Eagle Castle was located, it rarely snowed. But with such a thick layer of snow here, it was obvious that no one had been here for a long time. Jiang Feng said that Yin Wuchao was dead, and Golden Eagle Castle had been taken over by someone. But who was it, and where was Yin Xiaoru? Li Fan didn't use his qinggong, but slowly walked on the snowy ground, observing the surroundings. It was eerily quiet, and there wasn't a single sound. Only the crunching sound of his boots on the snowy ground could be heard. In front of him was Yin Wuchao's residence. The bronze lion head gate was right in front of him, and there was a layer of dust on it. Li Fan walked over, and when he stood in front of the gate, the red gate seemed to be aware of Li Fan's presence as it slowly opened. Li Fan panicked. What's going on? Did the Golden Eagle Castle change its gate to an automatic gate? Motherfucker, I'm a righteous man, what's there to be afraid of? Li Fan directly walked into the residence. The sunlight outside seemed to be moving away from him, and the interior of the residence was dark. The sunlight seemed to be avoiding this place. In front of him were 2 armchairs, and in the middle was a square table. On the square table hung a portrait of Yin Wuchao, and he was standing on the wall with a strange smile. Li Fan had a feeling that Yin Wuchao seemed to be looking at him. It should be an illusion. After all, it was just an ordinary portrait. Li Fan believed in ghosts and gods, but he wasn't a coward. He wasn't even afraid of the living Yin Wuchao, let alone the dead Yin Wuchao. Is anyone there? Li Fan yelled at the top of his lungs. His voice echoed in the residence, one after another, returning to Li Fan's ears, but no one answered him. I'm here to deliver the gift. If there's no one, I'll leave it here. As Li Fan spoke, he took off the big box on his back and placed it on the ground in front of him. The dust was lifted up, and it landed on Li Fan's face. At this moment, the box suddenly opened. Chapter 894. Inside the box was none other than Yin Wuchao's head. It was unknown what this head was soaked in, but it did not rot after so long. Its eyes were wide open as if it was looking at Li Fan, as if it wanted to say something to him. Fuck your uncle. Li Fan immediately flipped out, who the fuck is playing with the young master? Don't hide, come out with the young master. As Li Fan spoke, he took 2 steps back. Then, he raised a mouthful of true qi in his body and suddenly roared. Ha! Fierce tiger roar. As if a gust of wind blew, the dust in the house was swept up and in the blink of an eye, it was blown away by Li Fan, disappearing without a trace. The surrounding windows were blown open, allowing the sunlight to enter the house, brightening it up. A woman's figure, unknowingly sitting on the armchair in front of him. She was wearing a white dress, with long black hair and a pair of bare feet. She had the demeanor of an immortal, elegant and elegant. This woman had red lips and white teeth, a great beauty. She had a pair of peach blossom eyes that curved into crescent moons when she smiled. This woman's beauty could definitely make men go crazy. Li Fan wanted to go crazy. Imperial concubine Zhou. Are you so bored that your balls hurt? Vulgar. Imperial concubine Zhou sat there with an elegant posture. Her voice was as pleasant as an oriole's. I haven't seen you for a long time, how come you've become so vulgar? Young master's temper is like this. Imperial concubine Zhou, you have a lot of money, right? Can't you just give it to me? What kind of tricks are you playing? This imperial concubine indeed has a lot of money. I only spent a small amount of money to make you obediently come to this imperial concubine. Isn't it very interesting? When imperial concubine Zhou left, she took away a lot of gold and silver. To her, 1 million was indeed a small amount of money. Sure enough, you're a prodigal woman. If there's nothing else, I'm leaving. Li Fan already understood that Yin Wuchao was definitely killed by imperial concubine Zhou. You're leaving. This imperial concubine spent money, aren't you going to chat with this imperial concubine? Talk about what? Li Fan snorted coldly, what's there to talk about between us? Don't you want to know the whereabouts of that thieving girl? Yin Xiaoru? Li Fan tensed up. What did you do to her? As expected, there is still someone you care about. Imperial concubine Zhou giggled again and again, Ben Gong has already said that you look strong, but you actually have weaknesses all over your body. Any random person can consign you to eternal damnation. Imperial concubine Zhou, you're really annoying. Although the person in front of him was a beautiful woman, Li Fan couldn't help but curse, you look pretty, but you have a heart of a snake and scorpion. That Yin Xiaoru has no enmity with you, so why did you capture her? If you have the ability, come at the young master. No matter what you do, I, the young master, will take it. Li Fan immediately raised his true qi, and his whole body was not angry, but his aura was imposing. What's the hurry? Let's chat first, then talk about women. Imperial concubine Zhou sat there, crossed her beautiful little feet, and swung it back and forth. Ben Gong is very bored. The people of this era are not interesting at all. There is no one pleasing to the eye. Ben Gong looked around, and you are the only one pleasing to the eye. You're sick. Li Fan glared at Imperial concubine Zhou, feeling that this woman's illness was not light. An old monster who had lived for hundreds of years, her heart had already begun to distort. Ben Gong is not sick, it's you people who can't see clearly. Imperial concubine Zhou proudly said, Ben Gong's strength is enough to represent everything. If you want to convince me, then use your strength to conquer me. Where is Yin Xiaoru? Li Fan felt that it was impossible to reason with Imperial concubine Zhou, so he directly asked about Yin Xiaoru's whereabouts. A little girl is actually worthy of your attention. What, is this Ben Gong's charm inferior to a little girl? Imperial concubine Zhou crooked her finger at Li Fan. What, did you use this trick on him? Li Fan kicked the box in front of him, causing Yin Wuchao's head to sway a bit. How could this be? This kind of trash, I don't fancy. So you killed him. You're wrongly accusing me. Didn't you kill this person? Fart. Li Fan angrily rebuked, young master indeed killed people, but he never killed this old man. You see, you still don't admit to what you did. Imperial concubine Zhou smiled, when you killed this man, you looked quite handsome. Nonsense, it's useless for you to lie to me about something I didn't do. Ben Gong never lie, because Ben Gong has no reason to lie. Imperial concubine Zhou stretched her waist, I haven't exercised much recently, my muscles and bones are getting lazy. Imperial concubine Zhou, what are you trying to do? Li Fan scolded, you brought me here and deceived me into killing people. What is your purpose? Are you trying to frame me? You, after changing your appearance, you're really a bit annoying. Imperial concubine Zhou faintly sighed, when you're in bed, you don't talk to Ben Gong like this. What did you say? Li Fan was shocked. He took a step back and looked at Imperial concubine Zhou in shock. I went to bed with you. Are you joking? This Imperial concubine Zhou's words were getting more and more unreliable. You don't remember? Imperial concubine Zhou slightly knitted her eyebrows. It was at that time, Imperial concubine Zhou set a date, but Li Fan sneered. Ah, during that time, I was in closed-door training. When did I ever have a private meeting with you? You really don't want to admit it? Imperial concubine Zhou's expression turned cold. She slowly stood up, as if she was floating in the air, her black hair fluttered. Ben Gong's body has always been as pure as ice and as clean as jade. Even that dog emperor never touched me. At that time, I gave it to you, but you turned your back on me. Good, Li Fan. Today, Ben Gong will let you remember. Li Fan felt a little angry and wronged. He really didn't have anything to do with Imperial concubine Zhou. However, when he was in closed-door training, he was harassed by his heart's demon. At that time, Mr. Yang appeared in front of him with Imperial concubine Zhou in his arms. For Li Fan, it was just like watching an AV, so he didn't take it to heart. But connecting it with the series of things that happened now, Li Fan was a little scared. Could it be? What Imperial concubine Zhou said was true. Without waiting for Li Fan to understand, Imperial concubine Zhou had already arrived in front of him. She raised her palm and pressed it against Li Fan's forehead. Imperial concubine Zhou didn't show any mercy, as if she wanted to kill Li Fan with one palm. However, Li Fan wasn't a person who would sit still and wait for death. He immediately stepped into a horse stance and directly used the Ursa Major seal to collide with Imperial concubine Zhou's palm. Bang! The two palms collided, and a wave spread out, sending the surrounding tables and chairs flying. Layers of cracks also appeared on the wall. It was obviously caused by the internal strength of the two people. I haven't seen you for a long time. Your internal strength has improved a lot. Imperial concubine Zhou couldn't help but praise, worthy of being a man that Ben Gong has slept with. Chapter 895. What the fuck? Li Fan was very depressed. Even if he was really fucked, he would still be in an unconscious state. Motherfucker. What's wrong with me recently? I'm actually being controlled by my heart's demon. My heart's demon is too much. He just casually fucked a girl. It's fine if he fucked someone else, but he actually fucked the most difficult imperial concubine Zhou. Her virginity was originally reserved for her marriage. Deep down, Li Fan was a very traditional person. The first time was very important to him. But in the end, it was inexplicably taken away by imperial concubine Zhou. He was very unhappy, very unhappy, very unhappy. The windows in the room were blown open, and a gentle breeze blew through. Their palms touched each other. Imperial concubine Zhou didn't move, but Li Fan took a step back. His foot left a footprint on the ground and stabilized his footsteps. Li Fan, don't pretend. Whether you admit it or not, the two of us are the most suitable people. Imperial concubine Zhou suddenly appeared in front of Li Fan. Her arm gently rested on his shoulder. You can be this concubine's male pet. In the future, if this concubine accepts other male pets, let them listen to your management. Pa! Li Fan pushed imperial concubine Zhou back with a palm. At the same time, he glared at her and sneered, You, this woman, do you still want to be an empress? Why not? Imperial concubine Zhou put her hands behind her back and gently tilted her head. She looked at Li Fan. In the past, Wu Zetian was also an empress. The country was prosperous and the people were at peace. This concubine has an immortal body. Wouldn't it be better than her? What a joke. This is no longer an imperial society. The power belongs to the people. Is that really the case? In short, it's much better than the past. Li Fan felt that his words were a bit false. Moreover, being my male pet, you can also enjoy an immortal body. Imperial concubine Zhou looked at Li Fan and extended her small white hand. I can use my true qi to reconstruct your body, making you immortal. Ah! I don't want to become a monster like you. Li Fan refused Imperial consort Zhou's kindness. This consort will ask you one last time. Do you agree? Imperial concubine Zhou seemed to have lost her patience. Her eyes became sharp as she coldly looked at Li Fan. If I don't agree, are you going to bite me? Then what's the point of keeping you around? Imperial concubine Zhou was a temperamental person. She would suddenly turn hostile. She immediately flew forward like a white butterfly and instantly appeared in front of Li Fan. Imperial concubine Zhou's move seemed simple. It was just an ordinary palm. However, her kung fu had already been simplified from complexity to simplicity. A simple palm strike was better than thousands of kung fu. Li Fan unleashed his true qi domain. He used his true qi to pull his body and suddenly retreated 3 meters away, making Imperial concubine Zhou's palm to hit empty air. Pa! The air seemed to explode, emitting a deafening roar. Imperial concubine Zhou frowned and looked at Li Fan. What kung fu is this? When she spoke, her eyes gathered true qi. Unexpectedly, she also unleashed true eye. Oh! A domain formed from true qi. Interesting. Imperial concubine Zhou's eyes lit up, is that so? Imperial concubine Zhou's surroundings unexpectedly appeared with her true qi domain. She could turn the virtual into the real. In terms of true qi, she completely surpassed Li Fan. Li Fan had carefully thought of a way to use true qi, but Imperial concubine Zhou just casually learned it and used it. Fuck, I despise people like you the most. Li Fan cursed in all kinds of ways. Imperial concubine Zhou used her true qi to move her body and instantly arrived in front of Li Fan. My dear, this consort will leave your head and accompany me on my bed day and night. Imperial concubine Zhou said. Her left hand grabbed a sword that was condensed from true qi and stabbed it toward Li Fan's throat. Li Fan suddenly stretched out his left hand. Wrapped in true qi, he directly grabbed the sword. Dang! Golden sparks flew out, but the sword was still caught. How long can you block this consort? Imperial concubine Zhou smiled. Isn't it better to obediently die? Imperial concubine Zhou, do you think that I can't beat you? Li Fan asked. Obviously. Imperial concubine Zhou nodded her head. Then, she stretched out 2 fingers of her other hand and suddenly pointed at the acupuncture point under Li Fan's ear. A sharp pain instantly hit Li Fan's nerves. He almost screamed, but he forcibly endured it. Li Fan bit his lips. His lips were directly bitten and blood flowed down. Amazing. This kind of pain is like 10,000 ants biting your heart. You can actually endure it. Imperial concubine Zhou praised, but how long can you persist? Imperial concubine Zhou. Have you heard of different body united heart? Li Fan suddenly smiled. His smile was dripping with blood, causing Imperial concubine Zhou to frown. What do you mean? Do you think that you can still resist me? Imperial concubine Zhou's strength had already been completely restored. Although Li Fan was also very powerful, he couldn't be compared to Imperial concubine Zhou. The true qi in her body couldn't even be a match. Under the encirclement of Imperial concubine Zhou's true qi, it collapsed and disintegrated. You will soon. No. While speaking, Imperial concubine Zhou suddenly felt a sharp pain on the back of her neck. She reached out her hand and patted it, but only saw her own blood on her hand. Immediately afterward, a sharp pain came from her brain, and then completely exploded inside her body. Imperial concubine Zhou directly kneeled on the ground in pain and released Li Fan's acupuncture point. At the same time, the sharp pain disappeared. Imperial concubine Zhou raised her head. Her eyes flashed with an ominous glint. She poked Li Fan's acupuncture point again. Li Fan endured the sharp pain, but Imperial concubine Zhou fell to the ground again. Her body slightly twitched. Li Fan smiled. Just now. What entered this consort's body? Imperial concubine Zhou angrily asked. White centipede. Li Fan introduced. Imperial concubine Zhou is experienced and knowledgeable. You must know what the 7 emotions and 6 desires harmony goo is, right? Damn. You actually found a purine body. And even refined this harmony goo. Imperial concubine Zhou finally understood. Her face was full of despair. Take this goo out for this consort. I won't take it. If you don't take it, this consort will kill you. Kill me. This way, you will also die. Even if it turns void into reality, it won't be able to save you. Li Fan winked at Imperial concubine Zhou. Imperial concubine Zhou clenched her teeth. Her eyes glowed red as she fiercely glared at Li Fan. Io, what's wrong? Are you angry? Li Fan squatted down and looked at Imperial concubine Zhou, who was kneeling in front of him. Weren't you very fierce just now? Come, quickly conquer me. Let me be your male pet. Imperial concubine Zhou didn't speak, but Li Fan stretched out his hand and poked himself. The pain of 10,000 ants biting his heart, he also knew how to use his true qi. This kind of pain, Li Fan could still endure. But if he threw it to Imperial concubine Zhou couldn't bear it. Chapter 896. Intense pain assaulted her. Imperial concubine Zhou was an internal force expert. She could still endure ordinary pain. But the pain she was experiencing now was several times worse than the intense pain. Even if Imperial concubine Zhou wanted to endure, her nerves could not endure it. This pain reached the depths of her soul. Imperial concubine Zhou kneeled on the ground, screaming non-stop. Her true qi automatically flew out, shattering the surrounding walls, causing the entire Golden Eagle Castle to tremble. If this continued, the entire Golden Eagle Castle would probably be destroyed. Li Fan loosened his hand, allowing Imperial concubine Zhou to recover, but her body was still slightly twitching. Pure yang physique was a woman's nemesis. And the 7 emotions and 6 desires harmony goo was simply a woman's fatal weapon. Li Fan threw out this harmony goo, and every time he threw it, it was always accurate. Harmony goo had its pros and cons. It could be said to be a super weapon that could be used in a crucial moment. Using one on Imperial concubine Zhou, Li Fan had no choice. If he did not use it on her, he might really die here. Are you convinced? Li Fan looked at Imperial concubine Zhou under his feet, suddenly feeling a sense of conquest. It was so smooth. Although he wasted a harmony goo, it was worth it. You cheated. Imperial concubine Zhou's face was filled with unwillingness. If you want to kill me, do I have to stretch out my neck for you to chop? Li Fan rolled his eyes. He suddenly thought of Jiang Feng's evaluation of him. To achieve one's goal, schemes and overt schemes could be used. Sigh, just treat these words as a compliment. Li Fan comforted himself. Li Fan, this consort will definitely kill you. Come. Li Fan directly laid on the ground, and spread out. I'll just lie here, you can kill me however you want. Follow your mood, I guarantee you will be satisfied. Li Fan's shameless appearance made Imperial concubine Zhou choke with anger. You, bastard! Imperial concubine Zhou wanted to vomit blood. Even though she had peerless martial arts, she could not do anything to Li Fan. Why was she born in this era? Could it be that she was born so that Li Fan could bully her? Imperial concubine Zhou looked at Li Fan who was lying on the ground. She raised her palm and condensed a powerful true qi in her palm. Not to mention a human, even if it was an elephant, he would be able to kill it with one slap. However, Imperial concubine Zhou couldn't do it. If he killed Li Fan, he wouldn't be able to keep his own life. But if he didn't kill him, he would always be under his control. This empress is someone who is going to become the empress. How can I be buried with this guy? But how could I allow him to restrict me? The true energy in Imperial concubine Zhou's hand condensed, then dispersed, condensed again, and finally dispersed again. Li Fan lay there with his eyes open, as if he was asleep, allowing Imperial concubine Zhou to do whatever she wanted to him. Damn it, Imperial concubine Zhou was so angry that she gnashed her teeth. In the end, she could only obediently put down her hand. What exactly do you want? Tell me, where is Yin Xiaoru? Li Fan finally opened his eyes. He looked at Imperial concubine Zhou and said word by word. That girl is very smart. I don't know where she ran off to. Imperial concubine Zhou snorted, that girl is like an earthworm, I can't even catch her. As long as she didn't fall into your devil's claws, it's fine. Li Fan let out a sigh of relief. Although the underworld was big, Yin Xiaoru was also an old driver. She would take good care of herself. But if he really killed her father, this matter. It would be hard to say. It was impossible for Yin Xiaoru to not blame him. Yin Wuchao. Was I really the one who killed him? This empress never lies. Imperial concubine Zhou said, you personally killed him in front of this empress. At that time, you were like another person, overbearing and full of charm. At that moment, Imperial concubine Zhou unexpectedly had a little fangirl feeling. If what you said is true, then there's only one possibility. Li Fan sat cross-legged. His complexion was somewhat gloomy. At that time, it wasn't me, but another person. You're too shameless. You actually let others take the blame for what you did. Imperial concubine Zhou should have learned a lot of new words recently. She grasped these words very well. What I mean is, it's not me, but my heart's devil. Li Fan was basically tied to Imperial concubine Zhou. He was not afraid that she would harm him. Thus, without any scruples, he directly said. Recently, my heart's devil is getting heavier and heavier. Sometimes, I don't even know what I'm doing. When I wake up, I find that I'm doing things that I don't want to do. Practicing martial arts is easy to breed heart's devil. Imperial concubine Zhou stretched out her hand and put it on Li Fan's wrist. Your pulse is strong, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. This is indeed a sign of Heart's Devil entering your body. Why would practicing martial arts produce Heart's Devil? There was a martial arts master in front of him. Li Fan couldn't help but ask, is it because the power produced by practicing martial arts is too strong, and the state of mind can't keep up? This is God's punishment. Imperial concubine Zhou had her own opinion. In this world, everything must abide by God's law. For example, us humans, although we are smart, our body's ability is limited. We must rely on some tools to survive. But look at lions, tigers, and other fierce beasts. Although their bodies are strong, their minds are very stupid. Be more specific. To be specific, we humans are destined to be restrained by our bodies. If we are smart and have a strong body, wouldn't we be no different from God? Imperial concubine Zhou's theory seemed to have some truth. Therefore, in order to balance us, God naturally wants us to be restrained. Once our strength breaks through a certain range, then our brain will not be able to bear it. Thus, we will go crazy and become a beast-like existence. Imperial concubine Zhou's words made Li Fan think for a long time. This woman seemed to have some truth in her words. Unexpectedly, Li Fan was unable to defend himself. It seemed that the reason why she was able to become the strongest in the world was also reasonable. Therefore, if you want to become a true powerhouse, you must defeat yourself, and you must also defeat God. Imperial concubine Zhou said word by word, be proficient in controlling your own body. If your heart's devil comes, don't try to suppress it. If I don't suppress my heart's devil, wouldn't I be possessed by the devil? It's more open than blocked. Imperial concubine Zhou reminded Li Fan, this is the experience of Yu the Great when he conquered the flood. If you always suppress your heart's devil, won't its power become stronger and stronger? One day, it will erupt, and you won't be able to control it. Li Fan thought for a moment. His heart's devil did seem to be getting stronger and stronger. Properly guide it and liberate your nature. On the contrary, the heart's devil will slowly become calm. Imperial concubine Zhou said, when Ben Gong first entered the palace, I was the same as you. I suppressed my heart's devil day and night, but it almost devoured my heart and caused me to be possessed by the devil and die. Later, Ben Gong let the heart's devil do its thing. From time to time, I liberated my nature and finally got rid of this predicament. Chapter 897. At the age of 13, Imperial concubine Zhou entered the palace. I don't like it here. At that time, Imperial concubine Zhou was only a maid beside her sister. Her sister was the empress, the mother of the world. Everyone had to bow to her, except for two people. One was the current emperor, Chongzhen, and the other was her sister, Zhou Wanshu. At that time, Zhou Wanshu took her sister's hand and refused to enter the palace. But no one in the family agreed to Zhou Wanshu's request. In this way, Zhou Wanshu was sent to the palace and became a maid beside her sister. Zhou Wanshu was often sick when she was young, so her family arranged for her to practice martial arts in Shaolin to strengthen her body. Originally, it was impossible for the Shaolin temple to accept women, but at that time, Zhou Wanshu pretended to be a boy and was sent there. Zhou Wanshu was talented, had the talent to turn nothing into reality, and also had the ability to bloom 4 flowers. However, until the age of 13, Zhou Wanshu's female characteristics became more and more obvious. At this age, she already had the strength to reach the peak, shocking the martial arts world. Zhou Wanshu's identity was discovered by her master and she was driven out of Shaolin. Only then did she enter the palace with her sister. As an expert, she should serve the royal family. This was the idea of the martial arts world at that time. When Imperial concubine Zhou entered the palace, even her master supported her. If you follow this poor monk, you won't have any development. It's better to enter the palace. At that time, her master said this to her. The great Ming dynasty needs you. After Imperial concubine Zhou entered the palace, she inadvertently flipped through a secret book in the palace. At the age of 15, imperial concubine Zhou had already reached the peak of martial arts. At this time, the Great Ming dynasty had entered the end. Countless foreign experts came to the palace to assassinate Chongzhen, but none of them could pass through imperial concubine Zhou. At that time, imperial concubine Zhou was almost the pride of the entire martial arts world until she swept the entire martial arts world. Is it really bad to be possessed by the devil? Imperial concubine Zhou stood there, looked into the distance, and said softly. Sometimes, not thinking is actually a good thing. You can sigh. Li Fan gloomily looked at imperial concubine Zhou, who was sitting in the carriage. She was wearing a long white dress, and one of her hands was gently supporting her chin. The afterglow of the sun was sprinkling on her body, making her look holy and pure. Everything was an illusion. Li Fan quickly retracted his gaze. This girl, imperial concubine Zhou, was poisonous. It was better to see less of her. You can be emotional, but why are you following me? Because imperial concubine Zhou was following them, Li Fan had no choice but to rent a carriage. This consort is already yours. If I don't follow you, who else will I follow? It's all the inner demon's fault. It has nothing to do with me. Li Fan said, I'll send you to the exit of the Luoma Ancient Road. After that, you don't have to follow me. Humph, Li Fan, don't go too far. Is this empress someone you can bully? Then you can get off now. Humph. I can't be bothered to lower myself to your level. Imperial concubine Zhou leaned on the shaft of the carriage and didn't say a word. Li Fan continued to quietly drive the carriage. There were too many people in the pugilistic world on the Luoma Ancient Road. In order to not attract attention, he deliberately used alien bone change to secretly change the shape of his face. Why would you change your appearance? With this empress here, who would dare to hurt you? Imperial concubine Zhou asked. The human heart is sinister. It's hard to say anything. Li Fan was no longer a fledgling rookie. He could now be considered an experienced driver. The pugilistic world is indeed sinister. That's why absolute power is needed. You, this woman, sometimes, your thinking is too extreme. Speaking of which, isn't the 1 million you spent a bit not worth it? Li Fan ridiculed imperial concubine Zhou. Not at all. It's just a little bit of money. It's good enough to see you. When imperial concubine Zhou said this, she was like a little girl. What's so good about me that I'm worthy of imperial concubine Zhou's attention? Li Fan was very confused. You don't know, when you're possessed by your inner demon, the charm you emit, imperial concubine Zhou seemed to be a little nostalgic. AI, it would be good if your inner demon completely broke out. Fuck, young master doesn't want to be possessed by the devil. Li Fan was also convinced by this imperial concubine Zhou. However, in this pugilistic world, she was probably the only one who could do whatever she wanted and act according to her mood. The world is a demon, but it's just wearing a hypocritical coat. Imperial concubine Zhou sneered a few times. If you and I are demons, what can we do? On the contrary, we will live happily. Are you a family with Mr. Yang? Mr. Yang, who is that? Imperial concubine Zhou gently turned her head and asked Li Fan. Nothing, Li Fan turned his head and didn't say anything. The two people drove the carriage all the way along the Luoma Ancient Road, heading in the direction of the exit. Imperial concubine Zhou sat quietly on the shaft of the carriage. She stretched out her hand and seemed to be very bored. She was braiding her hair. Soon, she tied a cute braid, but it seemed that she was not satisfied. She untied it and began to braid it again. Women are so boring. Li Fan withdrew his gaze and continued to concentrate on driving the carriage. At this time, imperial concubine Zhou suddenly raised her head, looked at Li Fan, and said, "There is someone in front." N? Li Fan looked into the distance and didn't see anyone. In front of them was a barren grassland. Because it was early spring, some tender green grass had just drilled out of the ground, releasing vitality. But after Li Fan drove for 100 meters, he suddenly heard the sound of weapons colliding. What a good imperial concubine Zhou! Li Fan couldn't help but be shocked. She was so far away, but she actually noticed it. Imperial concubine Zhou's strength was indeed strong. Perhaps in today's pugilistic world, there were only a few people who could compete with her. He didn't know what happened in front of him, but the grass and trees on both sides were not suitable for the carriage. Li Fan could only continue to follow the ancient road and continue to go down. The sound of metal became louder and louder. Soon, in front of some dilapidated villages, several carriages appeared. 6 escorts stood there, waving the weapons in their hands and fighting with several black-clothed men. It was unknown which sect these black-clothed men were from. Each of them wore a mask and held a padao in their hands. Their moves were ruthless, and almost all of the 6 escorts were injured. Let's go. Imperial concubine Zhou didn't care about the life and death of these people. She gestured to Li Fan to continue on the road. The matters of the world's escort agencies are my matters. Li Fan was a gold-ranked escort, so it was reasonable for him to take care of them. If you want to take care of them, they should appreciate it. Imperial concubine Zhou knew a little about Li Fan's matters. No one in the world's escort agencies liked Li Fan. If he wasn't a gold-ranked escort, no other escort agency would pay attention to him. That's their business. I only do my own thing. Li Fan said and jumped off the carriage. Chapter 898. Chi had just celebrated her 19th birthday. Her birthday had been uneventful, although the people of the escort agency had said that they would hold a banquet to invite the heroes of the world. However, Chi had not agreed because she knew that, firstly, the agency did not have enough money to hold a banquet. Secondly, the heroes of the world would not attend a banquet held by a small agency like theirs. The agency was her father's business, and he had passed it on to her when he passed away. Thus, to Chi, the agency was not only a responsibility, but also a legacy. Even though the people of the agency had hoped to follow the trend and turn the agency into a security company, at least they could earn some money from the secular world, Chi had flatly refused. The tradition of the agency could not be changed. They only carried goods, and good goods. Because of this, the people of the agency had either left or dispersed. Now, in the entire agency, besides herself, there were only 5 escorts left. They were all seniors who had followed her father's generation and were not young, all in their 50s. For a martial artist, at this age, it was time to go home and enjoy the rest of his life. However, the agency was lacking manpower, so they could only invite a few uncles out of the mountains. However, they were indeed old, and a few assassins could not hold them off for long. Chi's martial arts were not very good. She held a leather shield in one hand and a sharp knife in the other, hastily blocking an attack from a man in black. Put down the goods and get out of here. Otherwise, none of you will live. The man in black roared as he attacked. The goods, the people. Chi recalled the words her father had whispered into her ear. Although her hands were trembling, she still gripped her sharp knife tightly and reprimanded him in a tender voice. You're asking for death. The man in black gripped his knife with both hands and increased the pace of his attacks. Chi seemed to be on the verge of defeat. Escort. Swallow steps, tiger subduing saber. An old escort with a head full of white hair shouted at the top of his lungs as he tangled with the man in black. Hi. Chi used her shoddy martial arts. When she heard the old escort's warning, she tried to retreat and then slashed at the man in black. But when she took a step back, she suddenly tripped and fell to the ground. Chi's world suddenly slowed down. It was as if she could see the mocking smile in the black-clothed man's eyes as he raised his hand to stab at her. At this moment, Chi's falling body suddenly stopped, and she fell into a firm embrace. In Chi's line of sight, she saw a man hugging her. Then, he lifted his leg and kicked the man in black's padao. The padao was kicked away and stuck in the door of the dilapidated house. Who are you? You actually dare to interfere in the matters of the Only Me sect. Zhang Xian thought that the other party's name would scare the other party off, but who would have thought that the other party would actually reveal his name? So it's someone from the devil cult. It's just the right time to stretch my muscles. The man smiled instead. He put Hichichi down, took her shield and saber, and slowly walked forward. Courting death. This black-clothed man was also extremely vicious. He took a padao from his companion and pounced towards the man. Instead of retreating, the man advanced. He lifted the leather shield in his left hand and knocked away the padao of the black-clothed man. Then, the knife in his right hand pierced through the throat of the black-clothed man. The man swung his knife, and the black-clothed man's corpse was flung to the side. 10 steps to kill a person. This scene stunned everyone present. The other black-clothed men also stopped fighting and took a few steps back as they re-examined the man in front of them. Hichichi also looked at him and was a little stunned. Who is this man? The man used his knife to draw a long line on the ground and said with a beaming smile, anyone who crosses this line shall die. I give 10 points to this pretentious act. Imperial concubine Zhou was bored to death as she sat on the carriage at the side and quietly watched Li Fan act pretentious. Li Fan raised his shield and stood behind the line. He didn't say much and didn't make any movements. The other black-clothed men looked left and right. He's alone. Don't be afraid. Let's attack together. A black-clothed man with a padao pointed at Li Fan, this thing is very important to Hall leader. If we lose it, we won't be able to live. Attack. Kill him. When the remaining black-clothed men heard this, they seemed to remember Hall leader's methods. One by one, they couldn't help but shiver. Then, with a spurt of energy, they pounced towards Li Fan. A total of 8 black-clothed men. After Li Fan killed one of them, the remaining 7 arrived in front of Li Fan in the blink of an eye. A black-clothed man had already arrived above Li Fan's head. He raised the padao in his hand and with an indomitable momentum, he chopped down towards Li Fan's head. Li Fan smiled. He raised his leather shield and pushed it above his head, immediately knocking away the padao of that black-clothed man. At the same time, his body leaned to the side and the sharp knife in his right hand chopped down. With a puff sound, the black-clothed man's head was chopped off. This head flew to the feet of a black-clothed man. He didn't have time to look at it. Holding the padao with both hands, he moved close to his body and chopped down towards Li Fan's feet. Li Fan raised his left foot and directly stepped on the man's padao. At the same time, his right foot kicked up and kicked the black-clothed man's head, sending him flying high. The sharp knife in Li Fan's right hand followed up and pierced through his chin, piercing through his skull. Li Fan's knife carried the corpse and blocked the padao from the other 2 black-clothed men. The padao pierced through their companion's corpse. Li Fan pulled out his sharp knife and pierced the chest of the black-clothed man on the right, piercing his heart. At the same time, he swung his leather shield and knocked over the black-clothed man on the left. Then, he stepped forward and stabbed him with his knife. With a puff sound, the black-clothed man's heart was pierced. Li Fan half-squatted on the ground while the 3 black-clothed men behind him jumped together. The padao in their hands shined with a bright light as they went straight for Li Fan. Li Fan quickly turned around and roared at the 3 people who were rushing towards him. Ha! A wave of air rushed out and sent the 3 black-clothed men flying. The 3 of them crashed into the house behind them. 2 of them crashed into the wall. One of them directly smashed through the door and fell into the backyard. Li Fan swung the sharp knife in his right hand and nailed the head of a black-clothed man to the wall. At the same time, he turned his body and swung the shield in his left hand. This small leather shield was infused with true qi. When it rotated, it was even sharper than a knife. In a flash, the head of another black-clothed man was cut off and embedded into the wall. Li Fan jumped forward and jumped into the house. Taking advantage of the moment when the black-clothed man was about to get up, Li Fan stretched out his hands and grabbed the black-clothed man's head and forcefully twisted it. Crack! The black-clothed man's throat was directly twisted. His head twisted 180 degrees as he strangely looked behind him. Li Fan clapped his hands and walked out of the house. At the same time, he also took down his shield and knife from the wall. The last black-clothed man was so scared that he almost peed his pants and sat on the ground. Chapter 899. The man in black was shivering. Li Fan had already walked in front of him, and the sharp knife was pressed against his forehead. Li Fan tore off the mask he used and asked. I have never seen you in the evil cult. Who are you? Nonsense. The man in black suddenly roared and began to shout a long string of slogans. Through the ages, only I will not perish. The veins on the man's face suddenly bulged and his eyes turned blood red. Li Fan felt a wave of pressure. He raised his leg and fiercely kicked the man's body. The man was like a ball that was sent flying by Li Fan's kick. He turned into a cannonball and crashed into the dilapidated house behind him. Bang! The house collapsed in an instant. Flesh and blood splattered all over the ground. So dangerous, Chi-Chi saw this scene and was so scared that her face turned pale. She touched her chest for a long time before she calmed down. Sky Demon Disintegration is indeed the evil cult's martial arts. Li Fan confirmed the other party's information. Recently, there were always some people in the pugilistic world who liked to use the name of the evil cult to commit crimes. Li Fan hated the evil cult, but he did not want them to be the scapegoat and cover for these criminals. Thank you for saving my life. Chi-Chi was signaled by an older escort. She then came forward and cupped her hands towards Li Fan. You are welcome. All the escorts in the world are one family. It was just a small effort on my part. Li Fan waved his hand, indicating that he did not do anything. You are also an escort. Chi-Chi was a little happy. May I know which escort agency are you from? Just a small escort agency. It's not worth mentioning. Li Fan casually mentioned the name of an escort agency. He had never heard of it before. Foresees Escort Agency, Escort Li San. Watergate Escort Agency, Chief Escort Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi's beautiful eyes were filled with admiration. If not for Big Brother Li, we would be dead, Li Fan asked as he returned the blade to Chi-Chi. I saw that when escort he held the saber just now. His technique was very inexperienced, and it vaguely looked like he was painting. I'm afraid that escort he has just started practicing martial arts, right? Indeed, it won't take long. Chi-Chi took her shield blade, her face slightly red. Although I've been practicing martial arts for a long time, I've never trained properly since I was young. I'm a student at the Academy of Fine Arts, and I'm just a freshman this year. It was a hasty decision for me to take over the agency. Before she could finish, the old man beside her coughed and interrupted Chi-Chi. Well, escort chief, we can talk about the escort agency later. Talking about it now will only add to young hero Li's worries. Aya, look at me, you're still talking endlessly. Chi-Chi lightly knocked on her head. Young hero Li, I will definitely repay your kindness in the future. It's alright. You don't have to be so polite. Just continue with your escort business. It was also time for Li Fan to hit the road. He did not want to delay for too long. He wanted to go back early to revise for the college entrance examination. Chi-Chi was already a university student, but he was still a high school student who had to worry about university. May I know where young hero Li is going? Chi-Chi subconsciously asked. Head east. Prepare to exit the ancient road. Aya, what a coincidence. We're also heading east. Chi-Chi was a little happy. She clapped her hands and invited, why don't we go together? What do you think, Big Brother Li? Chi-Chi seemed to be very familiar with him. She was already calling him Big Brother Li, that. Chief Escort, that's not a good idea, right? The old man could not help but interrupt. Young hero Li is too troublesome. It's alright. Meeting is fate. It's good to send you on your way. Li Fan nodded in agreement. Thank you so much. Chi-Chi was very happy. With the help of such a powerful escort like Li San, the road ahead would be very smooth. Then let's go. Li Fan got on his carriage and followed behind them. Chi seemed to be a little interested in Li San. She rode beside Li Fan's carriage. Seeing the enviously beautiful imperial concubine Zhou, she could not help but ask. "This is..." Imperial concubine Zhou immediately raised her small chin. It was time to introduce herself. "Oh, this is my second aunt," Li Fan casually said. Imperial concubine Zhou almost vomited blood. "Damn second aunt. Pfft, you really know how to joke." Chi covered her mouth and chuckled, "This is so young. How could she be your second aunt?" "That's right," Imperial concubine Zhou said in her heart, "This little girl has good taste. My second aunt has a technique to maintain her youth. Do you want to learn?" Li Fan looked at Chi with a smile. He felt that this little girl was quite cute. "Aya, it's really your second aunt, so young, hey. You have to stand firm." Imperial concubine Zhou had been proud her whole life. She did not know why, but at this moment, she wanted to cry. "Chief escort he, calling me chief escort he sounds so bad. Just call me Chi." She was really full of modern people's habits. Li Fan could not help but mutter in his heart. "Okay. Chi, you don't look like a martial artist. How did you become an escort?" Li Fan thought for a long time. Finally, he could not help but ask. "I took over my father's business." Chi sighed softly. "Originally, I was still a freshman in the Academy of Fine Arts. Later, my father passed away. No one was in charge of the escort, so I had to take over." "Are you not used to it?" "A little. There are a lot of rules, especially Uncle Wang. When I don't do well, he will scold me." "Humph." Chi secretly stuck out her tongue at Li Fan, "Don't tell him." "Ha ha ha, in this Jianghu, there are indeed a lot of rules. But if you are strong, you don't have to follow the rules of this world." Li Fan spoke the truth. This was also what Imperial concubine Zhou told him. "But I am very weak. When my father taught me martial arts, I didn't learn it well. Now, I find that I can't beat anyone." Chi's face was full of regret. "How about brotherly, you come to our escort agency. I will give you a high salary. How about 5,000 a month?" Li Fan was so angry that he almost laughed, but Imperial concubine Zhou looked at him with a gloating expression. "How about it, brotherly? This is the highest price our escort agency can offer. Even Uncle Wang doesn't have as much as you." Chi looked at him with a sincere expression. It did not seem like she was joking. "How can I casually betray my own escort agency?" Li Fan found an excuse to refuse Chi, making her somewhat disappointed. That Uncle Wang, who was walking in front, was coughing up blood. But at this time, his young master had completely ignored him. She kept pestering Li Fan with questions. "Brotherly, what is your martial arts? Where did you learn it?" "Like you, it's the shield saber technique." "Brotherly, what are you doing outside?" "Escorting an escort." "Then why don't I see your escort flag?" "Secret escort." Brotherly, do you have a wife?" Li Fan looked at this girl helplessly. Chapter 900. This little girl was simply asking 100,000 whys. Li Fan's forehead was full of cold sweat. He didn't know how to answer. "Why are you asking about my wife?" "I see that Brother Li's second aunt is so beautiful, so I'm curious what kind of woman can enter your eyes." Chi couldn't help but be curious. "I'm not married yet." "Ah, why?" "Second aunt won't allow it." Imperial concubine Zhou fiercely glared at Li Fan. "Escort leader, someone is inspecting the post in front." Uncle Wang, who was walking in front, suddenly slowed down his pace and said, "Inspecting the post?" Chi was a little surprised. She clumsily clamped the horse's belly with her leg, making the docile black horse walk a little faster and walk side by side with Uncle Wang. I don't know. They rarely inspect the post. Today is an exception. Inspecting the post was a common occurrence on the Luoma ancient road. Sometimes, in order to arrest criminals, the imperial court's genie guards would set up sentries on the ancient road to arrest these wanted criminals. Li Fan was relaxed. He had already changed his appearance, so the other party couldn't find him. However, this time, the genie guards were here to arrest someone. Li Fan glanced at the front and saw at least 20 genie guards. One of them looked like a Qianhu, with an iron fist on his right hand and a group of subordinates behind him. This is the first time I've seen such a formation. Li Fan muttered. A group of trash. Imperial concubine Zhou was quite disdainful. The entire genie guards doesn't have any good people. Didn't you say that you learned your secret martial arts from an inner court eunuch? Li Fan immediately asked, whose man is he? The East faction guards. Imperial concubine Zhou slowly said, in the past, Wei Zhongxian had a real expert under his command. This old eunuch was foolishly loyal and wholeheartedly assisted Wei Zhongxian. In the entire inner court, no one was his opponent, so this consort personally took action and killed him. He didn't die in vain as he contributed a secret martial art to this consort. Imperial concubine Zhou raised her right hand, and a whirlpool-like power appeared on it. That old eunuch learned a martial art that could absorb other people's true qi. He was already over 70 years old, but he still had white hair and a youthful face. This empress was very curious at that time. Only after learning this technique did I understand that humans can also live forever. What's the point of being immortal? Li Fan asked, isn't there still no one around you? A lonely life is indeed boring. Imperial concubine Zhou smiled sweetly, fortunately, I met such an interesting person like you. I really didn't mean anything. You chose the wrong person, Imperial concubine Zhou. Li Fan hurriedly refused. My judgment has never been wrong. If not for Imperial concubine Zhou's godlike strength, Li Fan would have thought that this woman was a Chinibyu. However, the other party's strength was there for all to see. You had no choice but to believe him. The one in front looks very fierce. Li Fan took a look. The embroidered uniform guards were very strict. They had even started to question Hichichi's parents. Fortunately, there was no problem with Hichichi's identity, so she answered smoothly. The embroidered uniform guards interrogated for a long time, but they didn't get any information. In the end, they decided to let her go. But at this time, the eyes of the embroidered uniform guards suddenly fell on Imperial concubine Zhou. It was impossible for such a beautiful woman to not attract attention. Who is she? The embroidered uniform guard asked. Hichichi was about to speak, but at this time, Uncle Wang was one step ahead. He cupped his hands and said, Sir, this is my granddaughter. This time, she came to watch the fun. Your granddaughter looks good. The embroidered uniform guard's eyes couldn't move away from Imperial concubine Zhou. Hichichi felt strange. Why did Uncle Wang say that she was his granddaughter? Wasn't she Brother Li's second aunt? Imperial concubine Zhou frowned. She glared at the embroidered uniform guard and scolded, if you look again, I'll dig out your eyes. Yo, your granddaughter is quite fierce. The embroidered uniform guard burst into laughter, Jianghu is dangerous. You have to teach her more. Don't let her court death by herself. Yes, yes, yes. Sir is right. When we return, this old man will ruthlessly lecture her so that she won't dare to offend Sir in the future. Alright, alright. You guys can go. The embroidered uniform guards didn't find the person they were looking for. They didn't put this small escort agency in their eyes and waved their hand to let them pass. The group left the checkpoint. Seeing that the embroidered uniform guards were no longer in sight, they let out a sigh of relief. Uncle Wang, just now you, once they were far away, Hichichi couldn't help but secretly ask Uncle Wang. Escort leader, your experience in Jianghu is shallow, so there are some things that you can't see through. Uncle Wang transmitted his voice to his escort leader. This Li San is so strong and has such a beautiful woman with him. It's impossible for him to be an escort from a small escort agency. It's very likely that he's hiding his identity. Previously, he helped us and was willing to give us a ride. So, this time, we'll do him a favor and help him pass smoothly. Brotherly isn't brotherly. Then who is brotherly? He Chi-Chi muttered. Uncle Wang was a little nervous. My eldest miss, you mustn't ask. Uncle Wang. I'm not a fool. He Chi-Chi angrily rolled her eyes at Uncle Wang. This Uncle Wang really thinks too highly of me. When he Chi-Chi, was in school, no matter what, I was a top student. In short, Jianghu is deep. Escort leader, you must be more careful. I know. Uncle Wang is really long-winded sometimes. As he Chi-Chi spoke, she continued to act as if nothing had happened. She slowed down her horse and rode side by side with Li Fan. Chi-Chi, what's the matter? I want to ask this, sister. He Chi-Chi looked at the young and beautiful imperial concubine Zhou. She couldn't call her second aunt. How can I retain my youthful looks? No woman wouldn't care about their appearance. Although he Chi-Chi was quite pretty, she was still young and old. She also wanted to retain her youthful looks. It would be good if she could stay young and beautiful forever. Young lady, beauty comes with a price. Imperial concubine Zhou wasn't as kind as Li Fan. Her first words scared he Chi-Chi. For the sake of beauty, you have to do anything. You're not even afraid of seeing blood. Do you have this awareness? Sister. Could it be that you've always had plastic surgery to maintain your youthful beauty? Imperial concubine Zhou's face darkened. Li Fan almost died from laughter. This he Chi-Chi was really interesting. She actually made Imperial concubine Zhou choke. Her method doesn't suit you. Li Fan was afraid that Imperial concubine Zhou would harm he Chi-Chi, so he finally said, Chi-Chi, as long as you diligently practice martial arts, your internal strength will reach the peak. You can at least maintain your youthful appearance when you're in your 30s. It would be good if people don't grow old, he Chi-Chi sighed with emotion. Li Fan looked at Imperial concubine Zhou. Not growing old is not necessarily a good thing. Chapter 901. He Chi-Chi didn't speak with Li Fan for too long, because they hadn't gone far when another wave of embroidered uniform guards blocked their way. Li Fan frowned slightly. Why was the genie guard so free recently? There were a total of 9 people. 8 of them were dressed in the attire of Baihu, and 1 of them was dressed in the attire of Qianhu, which looked a bit like the attire of a black guard. She was a woman, wearing a one-eyed mask and dressed like Yushi. She walked directly in front of them. You can leave. Put down the bodyguard. The woman's voice was as cold as the river in February, bone-chilling. Officers, we are an escort agency. How can we leave the goods behind? Uncle Wang was in a very difficult position. He kept trying to put in a good word for the embroidered uniform guards. Cut the crap. The woman cursed, there's something wrong with your darts. Put them down and leave. That's impossible. We're just a small escort agency, we don't do undercover work. We checked before we came here, and there was nothing wrong with it. Sir, do you think you've arrested the wrong person? Get lost. The woman lifted her leg and kicked Uncle Wang to the ground. Do you have the right to tell the genie guard what to do? Uncle Wang rubbed his aching abdomen, not daring to make a sound. However, he Chi-Chi was not happy. The little lass jumped down from her horse and rolled up her sleeves. She was about to rush forward and argue with them when she was pulled back by another escort. Escort leader, don't be rash. Don't stop me. This group of people is too lawless. Ha, that's right, little girl. You're right. The woman laughed. We, the embroidered uniform guard, are the law. We, the embroidered uniform guard, are the heavens. In Jianghu, whoever dares to go against us, the embroidered uniform guard, is seeking death. Men, collect their gifts. Let's see who dares. Although they did not dare to offend the brocade guards, at Hichichi's tender rebuke, the 5 escorts silently stood by the side of the carriage and pulled out their shields and knives. As long as the escort was alive, so would the people. This was a principle that every escort agency had to abide by. Even if they were just a small, unknown escort agency, they still had to keep this in mind. Protecting the dart was the soul of an escort. A few old, weak, and disabled people dared to try and stop a chariot. The woman waved her hand. Come on, take them down. The brocade guards pulled out their swords and all the escorts looked as if they were facing a great enemy. Hichichi raised her voice and shouted at Li Fan, "Brotherly, please leave. This is our own business." Li Fan sighed. If she didn't say so, he would have left shamelessly. But now that these words had been thrown out, if he were to leave, wouldn't it seem unjust? Besides, he had already poked his nose into other people's business a long time ago. Since he was going to deliver the Buddha to the West, he might as well deliver the Buddha to the West. Officers, why are you in such a hurry? Why don't we have a cup of tea first and have a good chat? As Li Fan spoke, he took a pot of water from the car and threw some tea leaves into it. Then, he held the kettle. Soon, white steam floated out of the cup, and a fragrant aroma came out of the kettle. This simple move caused the embroidered uniform guards to look at each other at a loss. This was no ordinary kung fu. A simple move was enough to show how powerful this man's inner strength was. Who are you? How dare you meddle in the affairs of the embroidered uniform guards? The one-eyed woman's face was dark as she looked at Li Fan, who had an extraordinary inner strength. Brotherly, don't worry about it. Let's go. Hichichi shouted at Li Fan, these embroidered uniform guards are very fierce. You've helped me once, so I can't drag you down with me. Li Fan looked at the one-eyed woman, then at Hichichi. Chichi, your martial arts aren't good. Why do you want to protect the dart? Can't you just give it to them? Brotherly, you're also an escort. How can you say such things? Hichichi was a little angry. Although I, Hichichi, am weak in martial arts, since I've joined this profession, I must have the soul of this profession. As she spoke, she raised her shield and sword and shouted, today, the dart lives, and the dart dies. Well said. Uncle Wang's tears streamed down his face. Old He, your daughter has grown up. Don't worry. Even if I die, this old man will protect the dart head. As he spoke, the 5 old men roared in unison. Their voices were loud and resounded through the sky. Li Fan jumped up from the carriage and walked towards them with a teapot. All right, I'll help you because of what you said. Who do you think you are? The one-eyed woman sneered. Meddling in my embroidered uniform guard's business. How dare you? Everyone, why don't you tell us first? What is this dart that the embroidered uniform guard is so concerned about? Li Fan was not in a hurry to act. Instead, he asked first. Stinking brat, how dare you ask about my embroidered uniform guard's business? The one-eyed woman did not answer Li Fan. Instead, she pulled out a black saber from her waist and pointed it at Li Fan's nose. Meeting my heartless saber is your bad luck today. Oh. Li Fan smiled. You're the heartless saber. I'm the real deal. The one-eyed woman no longer had the patience to waste time with Li Fan. She waved her saber and the 8 embroidered uniform guard Baihu behind her all rushed towards Li Fan. It won't be good if I spill this tea. Looking at the 8 Baihu rushing towards him, Li Fan's expression was indifferent. He casually threw the teapot over his head. The 8 Baihu had already rushed in front of Li Fan. Li Fan gathered his chi and slowly raised his hands. Li Fan's body seemed to have turned into a phantom as he stabbed out with the crane technique. The 8 Baihu's figures seemed to be slowed down in front of him. Li Fan's hands continuously stabbed at the 8 Baihu's acupoints. In just an instant, Li Fan stabbed at least 100 times. The 8 Baihu's bodies flew out and fell to the ground. Bang, bang, bang. In the next second, their bodies exploded and turned into a pile of flesh and blood. Li Fan continuously stabbed their acupoints, causing their blood vessels to flow in reverse. In the end, they died from blood loss. The teapot fell and was caught by Li Fan single-handedly. The tea was still warm. Thank you. Li Fan seemed to have done something trivial, but the one-eyed woman was so scared that she almost peed her pants. What was going on? Who was this person? The Heartless Saber and I have some history. Why did you have to impersonate her? As Li Fan said this, he was already standing behind the one-eyed woman. The one-eyed woman felt her scalp go numb. This person was standing at least 10 meters away from her. How did he get behind her in the blink of an eye? The one-eyed woman turned her head and saw Li Fan standing behind her. He was sitting in her carriage and had a small teacup in his hand. He was pouring tea for her. Tell me, who are you people? Why do you want the escort? Go ask Hades. Chapter 902. The one-eyed woman who was pretending to be Heartless Saber did not seem to fear death. Although she was afraid, she bit her tongue. Under the stimulation of blood and pain, she held the black saber and pounced at Li Fan. Puff! Li Fan's right hand directly clasped the one-eyed woman's neck, choking her. Tell me, who are you working for? For thousands of years, I am the only one. The one-eyed woman shouted. Then, her eyes turned red, and her body began to overflow with true qi. Li Fan did not dare to hesitate. He directly pushed the one-eyed woman away. The woman flew halfway and exploded into a bloody mess in the air. The true qi surged in all directions, crushing the surrounding trees and turning them into dust. The sky demon disintegration was truly a terrifying move. Looks like she really is from the devil cult. Li Fan frowned, deep in thought. What exactly were he Chi-Chi and the others transporting? Why were the people of the devil cult so interested and kept coming over to steal the darts? They were talking about the hall master earlier. Who was the hall master on their side? One mystery after another appeared in front of Li Fan, leaving him scratching his head. The escorts from the water gate were dumbfounded. The strength that this brother Li San had just displayed was not just for show. This kind of strength was not something an ordinary escort should have. This man must be famous in the Jianghu. But who was he? If he was famous, his face should be familiar. But his face was very ordinary. He had never seen it before. Uncle Wang muttered in his heart. Could it be the legendary disguise technique? It was really unbelievable. While Uncle Wang was thinking about Li Fan's identity, Chi-Chi had already walked over and bowed to Li Fan. Brother Li, it's really been hard on you today. You saved me twice in a row. Chi-Chi's face was full of shame. She was such a failure as an escort leader. It was not easy for her to deliver goods, but she was robbed twice in a row. I feel that my escort agency will not be able to operate for much longer. Chi-Chi looked depressed. If this goes on, I'm afraid the agency will close down. Running an escort agency is naturally difficult. Li Fan comforted Chi-Chi, as long as you persevere, you will be able to do it one day. But, can I really do it? Chi-Chi looked at her hands. Just half a month ago, my hands were still holding a paintbrush. I originally wanted to study in France, study the painting techniques there, and finally become a real soul painter. But who would have thought that fate would make a fool of me? Chi-Chi smiled bitterly. The girl who was full of confidence just a moment ago was now showing signs of exhaustion. Don't worry. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Li Fan thought of his own phenomenal escort agency. When he first started it, there were also layers of difficulties. However, up until now, it had already reached a certain scale, and it had even become a gold medal escort. If only I had practiced martial arts in the past, Chi-Chi blamed herself a little. The escort agency wouldn't be what it is today. Keep it up. No matter what, you still have the soul of an escort in you. Li Fan couldn't help but praise Chi when he recalled how she protected the darts. At that time, I was hot-headed. Chi blushed a little. How about this? Li Fan looked at Chi, who seemed to be in a difficult position, and suggested an idea for her. Miss He, why don't you come to my place and be an escort first? You can learn some experience and skills. When you've learned enough, you can return to your Watergate escort agency and be your escort leader. What do you think? Li Fan was also on a whim. He felt that this girl named Chi was not bad, so he couldn't help but want to help her. My good nephew, you're really warm-hearted. Imperial concubine Zhou rolled her eyes and took advantage of him. The meaning of her contempt was self-evident. We're all children of the pugilistic world. This is something that we should do. It's nothing. Li Fan laughed and said shamelessly. Guaranteed to teach. Chi tilted her head and asked. Guaranteed to teach, but no refund of travel expenses. Li Fan recited this advertising slogan skillfully. Chi really thought about it. Uncle Wang, what do you think? If the escort leader wants to learn, that's also good. Uncle Wang nodded, but it can only last for 3 months. I can help you run the escort agency for these 3 months. But after 3 months, you must personally take charge of the overall situation. Sure. Chi nodded. I think Brother Li's escort agency should be reliable. After the escort, I'll go home with you. It's to return to the escort agency. Li Fan emphasized it a little, which made Chi blush. This Brother Li, what was he thinking? I meant to return to the escort agency. Chi blushed, and her voice lowered by an octave. Okay, then it's settled. Li Fan reminded her, let me say this in advance. My escort agency isn't very big, but it can manage. With an expert like Brother Li, the escort agency can't go wrong. Chi trusted Li Fan. Not only was she saved by him twice, but his martial arts were also so good. But, are you not going to university? Li Fan couldn't help but ask. I'm taking a break from school. Chi was helpless. Under such circumstances, I can only take a break from school. Practicing martial arts is important, but it shouldn't interfere with your studies. I don't want to either, but I have to make a choice. Chi looked like a weak girl, but she had her own determination, but this escort agency has been run by several generations of my family. I can't let it be destroyed in my hands. With that, her gaze fell on Li Fan. Brother Li, where's your escort agency? City A. Gosh, City A, it's so cold. Chi subconsciously shuddered. Ha, you're a martial fighter and have vital energy to protect your body. How can it be so cold? Li Fan couldn't help but laugh when he saw her girlish appearance. This girl was too cute. I'll still feel cold. Chi pouted. I'm a little girl, I'll be afraid of the cold. Don't worry, when you've mastered it, this cold won't be a problem for you. Chi's martial arts was only at the mastery level. She was really a novice. Then I'll be thick-skinned and follow Brother Li first. This girl was so naive. She really knew how to count the money after being sold. Brother, we'll have to trouble you with our escort agency. Uncle Wang cupped his hands at Li Fan. Please take care of me. Chapter 903. The person was entrusted to Li Fan, but the escort still had to be delivered as promised. Li Fan held the idea of helping the Buddha to the west, and decided to help them escort the escort to the place. The place that these people wanted to escort was the exit of the Luoma ancient road. There was a small villa there, and it was said that a family with the surname Bai lived there. What exactly are you delivering? On the road, Li Fan couldn't help but ask. The escorts looked at Li Fan, but didn't answer. The principle of the escorts was not to reveal the identity of their escort to outsiders. Chi also hesitated for a moment, but she didn't say it. I'm sorry, Big Brother Li, before this escort set off, the guest had warned me to absolutely not let outsiders know. So, even if you ask me, I can't say. It's okay, I was rude. Li Fan waved his hand, sat in the carriage, and no longer asked about the escort. However, he used his true chi to wrap around the box, trying to use his true chi to see what was inside. Li Fan's true chi was always successful, but this time, he encountered some special circumstances. His true chi seemed to be sucked in, and it was frantically pulled into the box. Li Fan couldn't control his true chi, and felt that the box was like a devil's den, as if it wanted to pull Li Fan's soul away. Li Fan wanted to leave, but he couldn't resist. At that moment, it was as if there were countless hands grabbing his body, trying to pull him into the abyss. A woman was sitting in front of the dressing table, wearing a red cheongsam, and seemed to be from a famous family. She was looking at the mirror, dressing up, as if waiting for her sweetheart. Li Fan especially wanted to see the face of that woman. He slowly approached her, and there seemed to be only the sound of a heartbeat, and a somewhat low breathing sound in his ears. With the instinct of a martial artist, Li Fan felt that something was wrong. His hair stood on end, and all the hair on his body trembled. He wanted to leave, but his line of sight involuntarily approached the woman. It's a bronze mirror. Imperial concubine Zhou suddenly reached out her hand and grabbed Li Fan's wrist. Li Fan felt himself being forcefully pulled back to the real world. He looked at Imperial concubine Zhou, who looked like a fairy, as if it was a lifetime ago. What? Are you unable to extricate yourself from my beauty? The corner of Imperial concubine Zhou's mouth raised into a beautiful arc, beautiful, very beautiful indeed. At this moment, Li Fan was deeply moved. If it weren't for Imperial concubine Zhou, he didn't know what would have happened. The two of them sat in the carriage and kept using the secret sound transmission so that no one could hear their conversation. How did you know it was the copper mirror? Li Fan wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and looked at the proud Imperial concubine Zhou. I checked it with my true chi long ago. Imperial concubine Zhou casually said, it's an octagonal bronze mirror with a beast head. Then why are you fine? That copper mirror had some kind of special energy, but Imperial concubine Zhou acted as if nothing had happened. You and I are naturally different. In this world, which woman can compare to me? Fuck, Li Fan curled his lips. This woman was too Chinibu. In short, don't try to use your true chi to approach this box. Imperial concubine Zhou reminded Li Fan, next time, even I may not be able to save you. Got it. Li Fan was a bit depressed. He had great power, but he couldn't do anything to a small mirror. That mirror should have some kind of technique sealed on it. Imperial concubine Zhou continued to transmit her secret sound transmission to Li Fan. Technique? What technique? A kind of ghost god technique. Imperial concubine Zhou said, since the Qin dynasty, there has been a kind of people in this world who are proficient in the ghost god technique. They are called necromancers. Ghost god technique? They can fly in the sky, burrow into the earth, and live forever. How is that possible? Imperial concubine Zhou rolled her eyes. It's quite beautiful. It's just some yin and yang technique, nothing to be surprised about. Imperial concubine Zhou seemed to be accustomed to it. When Chongzhen was still alive, there was also a necromancer in the palace who specialized in refining pills for Chongzhen. These pills have the effect of prolonging one's life, but unfortunately, they couldn't stop Chongzhen's fate from running out. With that, Imperial concubine Zhou giggled, as if she had just told a joke. Although that Chongzhen has some skill, he is a man without fate. Do you hate him? I don't hate him. It's just that in this world, there are only two men who can enter my eyes. Imperial concubine Zhou gently leaned her head on the shaft of the carriage. She seemed to be tired. Her red lips were tender and alluring, making Li Fan have the urge to kiss them. This woman is poisonous. Li Fan swallowed his saliva and tried to suppress his impatient heart. Although he might have tasted these red lips at some point, and even went straight to the stamen and plucked the heart. But that was when he was possessed by the heart demon. He had no impression of it at all. shouldn't I do it when I'm awake? Bah, Li Fan, how can you have such dirty thoughts? Let's continue talking about the necromancers. According to Imperial Concubine Zhou, these necromancers should be proficient in alchemy, ghost hunting, and geomancy. Since ancient times, there was no lack of such people in China. But whether it was true or not, Li Fan was not clear. What does this bronze mirror have to do with necromancers? You are a martial artist. You should understand that the true qi that we martial artists practice is a kind of energy. Imperial Concubine Zhou was too lazy to use the secret voice-sending technique, so she simply whispered in Li Fan's ear, making Li Fan's ear itch. Even after a person dies, there should be a kind of energy. And necromancers know how to communicate with this kind of energy. That bronze mirror seems to seal someone's energy. This kind of thing that can't be reincarnated can only be done by necromancers. As Imperial Concubine Zhou spoke, she gently stretched her waist, overflowing with charm. However, after I came back to life, it seems that there are no necromancers here. It seems that this profession of necromancers has completely come to an end. After all, revealing the secrets of heaven will incur the wrath of heaven. You were born in defiance of heaven, won't you also incur the wrath of heaven? Li Fan very seriously looked at Imperial Concubine Zhou. Sure, let the wrath of heaven be fiercer. I am not afraid. Imperial Concubine Zhou smiled, her smile brimming with confidence. In this world, there is no match for me. Perhaps the heavens will be able to fight against me. The world is big, there are all kinds of strange things. Li Fan reminded Imperial Concubine Zhou, in addition to martial arts, there are also many kinds of powerful experts. Perhaps. Wait until they come. I will sleep for a while, you take care of your sister. Imperial Concubine Zhou leaned on the carriage, closed her eyes, and began to take a nap. Li Fan looked at her, shook his head, and continued to concentrate on driving the carriage. We are almost there. Uncle Wang, who was walking in the front, saw a house in the distance and shouted. Chapter 904. By residence. Like the Golden Eagle Castle, this place was almost deserted. The front door was covered in snow, and it was hard to tell that anyone had been here. Is this a deserted residence? Chi could not help but feel a little suspicious. Li Fan subconsciously glanced at Imperial Concubine Zhou. Why did they have to play this trick, deliberately mystifying things? Imperial Concubine Zhou did not think much of it. She only asked Li Fan to deliver the escort and conveniently meet him. She did not have any other intentions. But this place was obviously different. Escort leader, please be careful. There seems to be something strange in this residence. Uncle Wang reminded. It's fine. Isn't it just a residence? It can't eat people. Chi waved her hand, we are already here. Once we hand over the escort, we will complete our mission and leave. The Jianghu is dangerous. It's better to be more careful. Uncle Wang reminded. Uncle Wang, you are too timid. It's fine. How could we be so unlucky? Chi said as she walked forward and pushed open the door of the residence. In front of them was a courtyard covered in snow. There was not a single person inside. It was unknown how long it had been abandoned. There should be no one here. Just as Chi muttered to herself, the snow around them suddenly rolled up and blew towards them. Chi raised her hands to block the snowflakes in front of her. This place looked like it was snowing again. The white snow was like a fairy, frolicking in the courtyard. Two escorts carried the heavy iron box and walked in. Li Fan and Imperial Concubine Zhou glanced at each other. Then, they followed the remaining escorts into the gloomy and eerie by residence. After walking in, Li Fan seemed to hear someone whispering in his ear. The voice was trivial. He could not hear what was said, but he felt that it made his hair stand on end. Ridiculous. Could it be a haunted house? Li Fan did not believe it. In broad daylight, how could there be demons and ghosts? Moreover, he was full of righteousness and had a pure young body. Why would he be afraid of demons and ghosts? Just as Li Fan stepped into the courtyard, the door behind him suddenly squeaked and closed by itself. Damn, it's an automatic door. Everyone was a little frightened, but Li Fan relaxed. There was someone in this house, and it was an inner force master. His opponent's inner strength had also reached a superb level. It seemed that his cultivation was definitely not weak. Is this place haunted? Chi-Chi, who had been fearless just a moment ago, turned pale and subconsciously hid beside Li Fan. Brotherly. Can you help me send the dart into the house? Li Fan really wanted to laugh. This little girl was so righteous before, but now she was terrified. It was no wonder. Things like ghosts and monsters were unpredictable. There were probably only a handful of people who weren't afraid. Escort leader, how could we trouble him? Uncle Wang immediately said, let us do it. The escorts mustered up their courage and walked towards the house in front of them. When they climbed up the steps, the door of the mansion, which was originally closed, suddenly opened slowly, as if it was welcoming them in. Even Uncle Wang started to feel afraid. Motherfucker, we have so many people here, what are you afraid of? Let's go in. As Uncle Wang spoke, he braced himself and led a few of his old brothers directly into the house. Li Fan was worried that something might happen to them, so he followed closely behind with Imperial concubine Zhou. You guys go ahead. I'll help you keep watch in the courtyard. Chi-Chi stood alone in the courtyard. A gust of wind blew and snowflakes on her face, startling this girl. Wait for me. I'll come too. Aren't you supposed to keep watch in the courtyard? Li Fan saw Chi-Chi walk quickly to his side and couldn't help but tease her. This escort leader should take the lead. How can I do something as useless as keeping watch? Aren't you afraid? What's there to be afraid of? It's broad daylight. Besides, this escort leader has nothing to fear. How can a small, abandoned house scare me? Humph. Chi-Chi said with a hint of dissatisfaction. Let's leave the dart in the house. Let's go back. Escort leader, the dart must be delivered to the other party. Uncle Wang reminded Chi-Chi, leaving it here isn't an escort leader's code of conduct. Li Fan's face turned red, and Imperial concubine Zhou, who was next to him, stared at him. Then what should we do? I don't see anyone in this house. Just leave it there. At this moment, an old and faintly discernible voice suddenly flew out and entered everyone's ears. Everyone acted as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Chi-Chi was so scared that she almost peed her pants. She immediately broke down and grabbed Li Fan's arm with tears in her eyes. You're a human or a ghost, come out. Although Li Fan's heart was beating like a drum, he couldn't be afraid with a girl by his side. Men were 10 times more courageous in front of women. He shouted and the voice rang out again. I don't know whether I'm a human or a ghost, but it's none of your business. Put the dart down. Let's go. The other party was asking them to leave. No, you can't. Chi-Chi, who was scared to death, gathered her courage and said. I don't know if you're a member of the Bai family. Come out and see me, then I can give you the dart. The employer had requested that the dart be delivered to the Bai family. Just like what Uncle Wang said, this was the rule. No matter how scared she was, she couldn't change the rule. Imperial concubine Zhou couldn't help but look at her. This little girl was a little interesting. All of you, get out, the voice seemed to be a little impatient. Then, a sudden gust of wind blew through the main hall. Uncle Wang and the other escorts were directly blown out of the house and fell outside the courtyard. Chi-Chi was also almost blown out, but fortunately, she was holding onto Li Fan's arm so she didn't fall out with him. Li Fan and Imperial concubine Zhou's feet seemed to be rooted to the ground. They stood there steadily, letting the wind blow past their faces. The two of them looked at each other. This wasn't a gust of wind at all, it was internal energy. It seemed that there was an expert in this house. Your internal energy is extraordinary, why don't you come out and see me? Li Fan asked in a loud voice. You. Why do you have to force me? The other party's voice seemed to have some hidden bitterness, but Li Fan cupped his hands. I'm sorry, our escort's rule is that the dart must be delivered to the other party before it can be considered as handing over the dart. If you don't come out, then we can't give you the dart and we can't leave. After saying that, Li Fan looked towards the door. Brothers, I'll come out with the dart. Where are you going? You're not allowed to go. The house's main door suddenly closed with a bang. Li Fan laughed loudly. You want to lock me up with such a small trick? After saying that, Li Fan didn't turn his head and swung his hand behind him. The two doors were directly sent flying by his internal energy. Chapter 905. There's no need to talk to him. Imperial concubine Zhou revealed an impatient look. She suddenly stretched out her right hand and pulled at the mural in front of her. The wall behind the mural directly shattered with a rumbling sound. The gravel rolled out, and black smoke billowed out. Hichichi was somewhat surprised. This second aunt had never made a move before. She thought that she was just an ordinary person. Unexpectedly, she was also a martial arts expert. The black smoke slowly dispersed. A figure was sitting behind the wall. Hichichi looked at this person and couldn't help but cover her mouth. This person is a bit scary. He had a head full of white hair, a thin face, and was wearing a Qing dynasty official uniform. His hands were placed on the armrest of the armchair. His nails were at least 10 centimeters long, like the claws of a beast. She didn't know whether this person was dead or alive. He sat there like a mummy. At that moment, Hichichi thought of a word, zombie. Could it be that this person is a zombie? Along with his appearance, a gust of chilly wind blew through the hall and blew on the three of them. Don't be afraid. He's a human. Li Fan felt Hichichi was trembling. He stretched out his hand and gently patted her back. At the same time, he transferred his true qi into her body. But his body is about to die. He's relying on his true qi to hang on to his life. This person is at least 150 years old. Imperial concubine Zhou looked at him from head to toe. If not for his powerful inner qi, I'm afraid he would have already died. You. Why are you disturbing me? The other party's voice was cold and angry. It couldn't be restrained. It was emitted and slanted on the three of them. I do what I want to do. Who do you think you are? You dare to question me? When Imperial concubine Zhou heard this, she immediately became unhappy. She was an imperial concubine of the previous dynasty. How could she be happy when an upright official from the later dynasty tried to assassinate her? Truly. Courting death. The other party said and suddenly waved his hand. Several swords hanging on the wall in the room suddenly left their scabbards and shot toward Imperial concubine Zhou. Powerful true qi control. Even Li Fan couldn't help but praise. This person had not lived in vain for more than 100 years. At the very least, he had cultivated his internal energy to the extreme. Roughly estimating, he should be at the level of a grandmaster of a generation. What kind of martial arts is this? Hichichi looked at the flying swords in front of her in shock. She had just entered the martial arts world and had never seen such kung fu. Stand behind me. Li Fan reached out and pulled Hichichi behind him to protect her. A sword had already arrived in front of Li Fan, heading straight for the space between his eyebrows. This white-haired old man was ruthless and merciless. But Li Fan just stood there with his hands behind his back, as if he didn't care about the sword at all. Buzz! The sword suddenly stopped in front of Li Fan, as if it was blocked by an invisible force field. Li Fan activated his true qi domain. His powerful true qi directly grabbed the sword, making it unable to advance or retreat. As for Imperial concubine Zhou, there was no problem. She directly blew, and the flying swords immediately flew back. The white-haired old man's body slightly trembled, as if he was somewhat surprised. Together with the armchair he was sitting on, he began to spin, bringing with him a strong true energy, forming a whirlwind, wrapping around a few treasured swords, protecting his own body. Dang, dang, dang. Several swords flew out and nailed on the wall next to him. Who are you? Not being able to kill these people, the white-haired old man was obviously a little surprised. First, tell me who you are. Li Fan looked at the old man and asked. The old man wanted to continue, but seeing Li Fan and imperial concubine Zhou, he finally swallowed his anger. These two people were very strong, and he was afraid that it would be difficult for him to defeat them alone. My story. You won't be interested. Leave here, let me accompany little Qing. If we don't know who you are, we won't hand over the dart. Li Fan stood next to the box. Why don't you directly come and snatch it? I am a member of the Bai family. My name is Bai Nansheng. The old man hesitated for a moment, but still said it. Inside the box is the personal belongings of my beloved. Please return it to me. Bai Nansheng, I seem to have heard of this name. Chi muttered, while Li Fan was also recalling. This old man's internal energy was very strong, and he should have some reputation in the Jianghu. My name is not worth mentioning. Everyone, this is my home, please leave. The old man gave the order to leave. What if this consort doesn't leave? Imperial concubine Zhou took a step forward, approaching the old man. Bai Nansheng glanced at imperial concubine Zhou and saw her pair of eyes that were as deep as water. He didn't know why, but a trace of fear emerged in his heart, and he subconsciously slid away with the armchair. The world belongs to this consort. What do you dare to do? You. Who exactly are you? Bai Nansheng's voice was slightly trembling as he asked. This consort's name is not something that you are qualified to know. Imperial concubine Zhou sneered, seeing that your skills are not bad, why don't you make some contribution to this consort? With that, Imperial concubine Zhou extended her hand towards Bai Nansheng. Bai Nansheng suddenly lost control of himself, and his body slid towards Imperial concubine Zhou. Aw! Even Bai Nansheng, who had lived for more than 100 years, couldn't help but feel fear at this moment. Enough! Li Fan suddenly grabbed Imperial concubine Zhou, and the powerful suction force was broken. Bai Nansheng fell down from the armchair, kneeled on the ground, and gasped for breath. Why are you stopping this consort? Imperial concubine Zhou looked at Li Fan with dissatisfaction. If you were alone, then it's fine. Li Fan directly forbade, but beside me, you are not allowed to use the Vairocana Heart Sutra to absorb other people's power. Humph. You're so controlling. You can leave if you don't like it. You. Forget it. You're really an enemy. Imperial concubine Zhou was extremely angry. She flicked her sleeves and walked to the side. Undying evil Buddha. It's actually her. Bai Nansheng's face was covered in cold sweat. His originally mummified face was now even more unsightly. Who she is not important. Since you're a member of the Bai family, then leave that thing here. We're leaving. Li Fan looked at the old Bai Nansheng, and actually felt some sympathy in his heart. Even if he was a spirit-connecting martial artist, he still couldn't withstand the ruthlessness of time. He didn't know if he would also be in such a sorry state after 100 years. Leave. No one can even think of leaving today. Suddenly, a burst of laughter came from the outside. It was as if the entire house was surrounded by laughter. Following that, the house was surrounded by a strong gust of wind and snow. Li Fan frowned. An expert was coming. Chapter 906. Just from the sound, one could tell how strong this person's inner force was. And when he arrived, there was a huge gust of wind around him. It could be seen how arrogant and confident he was. Who was it that was stirring up trouble? Li Fan and the rest looked towards the door and saw more than 10 evil faction disciples wearing red and black jackets, using Qing Gong, were coming from the sky. 4 of them were carrying a palanquin, on which some important personage was seated. It was they, or some great personage in the palanquin, who had brought about the gale. These people jumped over the wall and landed in the yard. Come in. Seeing that several devil cult disciples had begun to unsheath their swords, Li Fan immediately stretched out his hand and used his innate qi to pull the escorts back into the room. Everyone, don't even think about leaving today. Leave your lives here. The palanquin landed on the ground, a devil cult disciple respectfully lifted the palanquin curtain, a tall man wearing a red robe slowly walked down from inside. The man looked to be in his 40s. He had a full beard and his eyes glowed red. This person exuded a vicious aura. With one look, it was obvious that he had cultivated his demonic arts to the bone and was very powerful. Who are you? Li Fan gestured for the escorts to stay put. The other party did not come with good intentions, so it was best to be careful. I am the hall master of the Scarlet Blaze Hall, Zhang Bo, the man said arrogantly. Why aren't you kneeling when you see me? This one is the same as you, a little chinibu. Li Fan looked at Imperial concubine Zhou and said, you two will have a lot of common topics to talk about. Imperial concubine Zhou rolled her eyes at Li Fan. For some reason, Li Fan quite liked to see Imperial concubine Zhou roll her eyes. It was probably an illness that needed to be treated. Hand over the green soul mirror and I'll spare your lives. Zhang Bo pointed at the box, but Chi raised her voice. Uncle, this is a dart from our Watergate escort agency. If you want the dart, you'll have to ask our saber first. As she spoke, she really picked up her sword and shield. The little girl was very bold. As the saying goes, newborn calves are not afraid of tigers. Uncle Wang and the other escorts were extremely nervous. They all understood how terrifying the enemy in front of them was. A hall leader of the devil cult was at the pinnacle of strength. Could they really stop a powerhouse who could do whatever he wanted in Jianghu? A little girl who doesn't know her place. Zhang Bo glanced at Chi. I can crush you with just one finger. Humph, what are you bragging about? Give it a try if you dare. With experts like Li Fan and Imperial consort Zhou supporting her, Chi felt very confident. Courting death. Zhang Bo snorted coldly. He raised his right hand and quickly condensed the true qi in his palm. This true qi began to crazily rub against the air, quickly forming a ball of flame that wrapped around Zhang Bo's true qi fluctuations. Li Fan was a little surprised. He actually managed to ignite his true qi. Although Guan Wenbao could also do this, Guan Wenbao needed the assistance of a saber, while Zhang Bo could do it with his bare hands. It was amazing. He heard that Li Wei, the cult master of the cult, was best at using the ice flame divine technique. It seemed that the rumors were not groundless. Although his Qilin palm could also condense the power of two attributes, there was no way to create flames or frost. After all, it was just a palm technique that he had secretly learned from Murong Ying and Luo Xuewu. Zhang Bo swung his hand and threw a fireball that was the size of a soccer ball at Chi-Chi's head. Those who didn't know better would think that Zhang Bo was a mage who played with fireballs. The energy of true qi was indeed amazing. The fireball appeared in front of them in the blink of an eye, and Li Fan could feel the powerful energy contained in it. If he were to break it rashly, the explosion would probably hurt the others. Humph! How can the Bai residents allow you to be so presumptuous? Before Li Fan could say anything, the white-haired old man behind him, Bai Nansheng, was indignant. He sat there, stretched out his hands, and pushed them forward softly. Although he had no strength in his arms, his true qi surged forward like waves. The true qi hit the fireball and forcefully stopped it. Oh! Looking at the floating fireball, Zhang Bo raised his eyebrows. Rotten old man, after living for so long, your true qi is a bit interesting. As Zhang Bo spoke, the fireball was pushed back by Nansheng in one go. He stood there, raised his hand, and slapped the fireball away. Boom! The fireball landed on a small hill in the distance, and the flames exploded. When the flames dissipated, the small hill had already disappeared, and the entire place was razed to the ground. Chi-Chi's face turned pale. Did I actually challenge such a powerful guy? My God, When did so many powerful experts appear in the pugilistic world? Why haven't I seen any of them before? Daddy, the pugilistic world is so scary. It's okay, don't be afraid. Li Fan's true chi once again entered Chi-Chi's body, and helped Chi-Chi stabilize her wildly beating heart. Your inner chi is indeed not bad, but why would I be afraid of a living dead person like you? What Zhang Bo said was indeed the truth. Although Bai Nanqing's inner chi had reached the level of a grandmaster, his physical strength was too weak, which dragged down his overall combat strength. As long as he had the chance to get close, he would be able to kill Bai Nanqing. A qualified martial artist could not be unorthodox. Cultivating both internal and external cultivation was the way of the king. This was the reason why some martial artists accepted disciples. When they grew old, even if their inner chi was strong, their bodies would not be able to keep up. Bai Nanqing, if you know what's good for you, obediently hand over the green soul mirror. Otherwise, you and this mansion will be burned to the ground. Zhang Bo opened his right hand, and his palm was burning with a scarlet flame. The heat was distorting the air. I will definitely not give up on little Qing. Bai Nanqing used all the inner chi in his body, and the entire mansion slowly trembled. Even Li Fan admired Bai Nanqing's true chi. It was indeed strong. Perhaps, if he continued to use his inner chi, the entire mansion would collapse. The dust on the roof fell down one after another. Li Fan opened up his innate chi domain to block the falling dust. Imperial concubine Zhou was too lazy to even circulate her true chi. She hid in Li Fan's true chi domain and did not come out. Zhang Bo did not wait for Bai Nanqing to use his inner chi. His body suddenly pulled out an afterimage and instantly entered the mansion. He arrived in front of Bai Nanqing, and at the same time, his right palm was covered in flames as he slapped towards Bai Nanqing. Bam! Bai Nanqing circulated his true chi and sealed Zhang Bo's flaming palm. However, Bai Nanqing was very reluctant. His forehead was covered in sweat. Circulating true chi also required physical strength. After fighting with Li Fan and the others, Bai Nanqing did not have any physical strength left. Right now, he was barely holding on. He was already gasping for breath. A fierce battle seemed to be inevitable. Help who? Imperial concubine Zhou asked at this time. Chapter 907. Help who? Imperial concubine Zhou asked. Of course it's to help Bai Nanqing. How could Li Fan help the devil cult, but don't worry, let's wait and see first. If the people of Jianghu were to see Imperial concubine Zhou's obedient appearance, their eyeballs would definitely fly out of their sockets. The dignified undying evil Buddha actually revealed such an expression of a little girl. Bai Nanqing, today will be the day of your death. Zhang Bo roared as his eyes emitted a red light. His palm was about to press down on Bai Nanqing's head. However, Bai Nanqing's heart was concerned about the green soul mirror, as if he was concerned about his lover. He used all of his strength and almost exploded. The true chi on his body began to turn golden red. As the true chi hit Zhang Bo's palm, the flame on Zhang Bo's palm began to distort. Not bad. Zhang Bo laughed. He suddenly extended his left hand and released a scarlet flame from his palm. His left hand struck towards Bai Nanqing's temple, trying to kill him with a single palm strike. Bai Nanqing's true chi fluctuated violently. It seemed that it wouldn't be long before his true chi defense was completely torn apart. Li Fan thought for a moment and felt that he should help. Although he didn't like Bai Nanqing, Zhang Bo seemed to be even more annoying. Go to hell. Zhang Bo's palm was about to tear apart Bai Nanqing's defense, but at this moment, Li Fan suddenly made his move and grabbed Zhang Bo's left wrist. Zhang Bo frowned and glanced at Li Fan. Look at your paralysis. Li Fan raised his foot and directly kicked Zhang Bo's stomach. True chi erupted from Zhang Bo's body, forming a steel armor in an attempt to block Li Fan's foot. However, Li Fan's kick was not to be trifled with. It directly broke Zhang Bo's defense and fiercely kicked his stomach. Bam! Zhang Bo's body flew out, directly smashing the wall behind him, and fell outside. Sorry, I don't like you. Li Fan moved his muscles and bones, stretching his body. The journey was too tiring. Li Fan really wanted to sleep. However, now that a strong opponent like Zhang Bo had appeared, Li Fan was a little excited and prepared to do some bedtime exercises. You're courting death. When Zhang Bo realized that someone dared to challenge him, he flew into a rage. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. As Zhang Bo spoke, he took a step forward and raised his palm. Flames condensed on his palm and he slammed it down on Li Fan's forehead. The power of this palm was not to be underestimated, but Li Fan wanted to resist it. That was because Muronging had a powerful flame palm that had once seriously injured Li Fan. Although Zhang Bo's flame palm was also very powerful, it was still lacking compared to Murongying's flame palm. However, he could test it out on Zhang Bo. Looking at the palm coming down on his head, Li Fan did not dodge. He directly raised his left hand and met the palm with a Qilin palm. Bang! The two people's palms collided. Li Fan did not move an inch, but Zhang Bo took a step back. True Qi continuously burst out of his body. Obviously, he was hit by Li Fan's palm. His right hand was trembling slightly. Some parts of it were covered in frost, and some parts were emitting hot white mist. Li Fan's palm had caused some damage to him. However, the flame palm did not seem to leave any injuries. Li Fan's true qi completely offset the burning of the opponent's flames, so there was no difference. Amazing. Chi could not help but admire her big brother Li. Although she did not know who Big Brother Li was, his skill was indeed beautiful. Such a powerful devil church's leader was kicked away by Big Brother Li. Kid, who are you? Because of Li Fan's disguise, Zhang Bo could not see his identity. I'm your father. Li Fan said. His body suddenly appeared in front of Zhang Bo. At the same time, he threw an uppercut at Zhang Bo's chin. Zhang Bo stretched out his hand, trying to block Li Fan's fist. But Li Fan's true qi was like a cannonball. Pushing his fist, it actually tore through Zhang Bo's defense. His fist directly broke through Zhang Bo's palm and fiercely hit Zhang Bo's chin. Bang! Zhang Bo's body was directly hit and flew. His head hit the ceiling above. His whole body smashed through the ceiling and fell outside. Protect the leader. The Devil Church followers outside roared. A group of them rushed inside. Get lost. Imperial concubine Zhou was quite unhappy. These small fries dared to intrude on her side. Imperial concubine Zhou raised her right hand and pointed it at the door. All the Devil Church followers' bodies floated up and stopped in midair. Imperial concubine Zhou's palm closed. Bang, 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 the heads of more than 10 Devil Church followers exploded. Imperial concubine Zhou had just injected her true qi into several people's heads and forcibly detonated them. For a true qi expert like Imperial concubine Zhou, there was almost nothing impossible. But this move was too terrifying. Li Fan was a little afraid. Chi was so scared that her small face turned pale. Obviously, she had never seen such a terrifying move. At the same time, Zhang Bo also landed. He originally wanted to use his full strength to teach this brat a lesson. But seeing Imperial concubine Zhou's move, his scalp immediately went numb. My God! This woman, who is she? Her strength is so terrifying. Brat! If you have the guts, let's have a fight between men. Don't let a woman intervene. Zhang Bo's eyes turned and began to use the method of provocation on Li Fan. Sure. Li Fan didn't want Imperial concubine Zhou to intervene. She just conveniently sent away some small fries. Li Fan didn't understand. Right now, he also regarded these people's lives as grass. He didn't care about them at all. Zhang Bo breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, he was a little proud. This silly brat, he really fell for it. Although his strength was somewhat strong, he hid a part of his strength. As long as he took it out, he could definitely kill this brat. Brat, no matter who you are, you will die in this lord's hands today. This green soul mirror, this lord must have it. Who knew what this green soul mirror was, to actually make this Zhang Bo so obsessed? It was really too much. Raging flame divine art. Zhang Bo stretched out both his hands. Both hands were burning with flames at the same time. Then, with a flick of his hands, 2 fireballs were thrown towards Li Fan. Li Fan was already prepared. He stretched out his left hand and activated Crane Hand, slapping the 2 fireballs away. Boom! Boom! One fireball lifted the roof, and the other fireball shattered the wall. But Zhang Bo's 2 fireballs were just a greeting gift. He walked a few steps to the front of Li Fan. Taking advantage of the time when Li Fan slapped the fireball away, he sent a fire palm over. Chapter 908. The fire palm had already reached Li Fan's chest. Imperial concubine Zhou crossed her arms and watched from the side. She wasn't worried about Li Fan. If he couldn't even deal with this Zhang Bo, how could he be the man she liked? The fire palm directly hit Li Fan's chest. At the same time, Zhang Bo was still laughing. Brat, you're dead this time. But immediately, he couldn't laugh anymore. His palm was like a clay ox entering the sea. He couldn't exert any strength. He didn't know that Li Fan had already seen through his attack and had set up a defensive inner force in front of his chest. Dragon Toad's absorption of water. Right now, Li Fan didn't need to rely on his palm to release Dragon Toad's absorption of water. Because of his strong control over his true chi, he could release Dragon Toad's absorption of water from every part of his body. As long as he could see through his opponent's attack, he could set up a trap and wait for his opponent to fall for it. As expected, Zhang Bo had already fallen for it. His palm had already been sucked in by Li Fan. Zhang Bo felt that the true chi in his body was flowing backward. It was as if a hole had been exposed in the bathwater and was madly rushing into the hole. Damn it! Zhang Bo wanted to pull back his left hand, but it was as if his left hand was being sucked in by a black hole. If this continued, the true chi in his body would be completely sucked dry. Damn it! Zhang Bo had no choice but to extend his right hand and cut off his left hand. Then, he sealed the wound on his wrist and retreated 3 meters away. He re-examined Li Fan. Your true chi is too fierce. If you practice for too long, I'm afraid your meridians will be damaged and you won't live to 50 years old. As Li Fan said this, he stretched out his right hand. Suddenly, a scarlet flame ignited in his palm. Li Fan was no longer the greenhorn from before. The current him had been baptized by too many battles. His understanding of martial arts had risen by who knows how many levels. Back then, he had absorbed the chi of a baihu of the embroidered uniform guards, but most of it had been wasted. Only a small portion was left, which could be used to increase his chi. However, now that Li Fan had absorbed the other party's zhenqi, he could make use of it as he pleased. Not only that, he could also copy the other party's mental cultivation method and execute the other party's moves. Li Fan's growth had reached a terrifying level. You, what kind of monster are you? Zhang Bo's eyes were filled with shock. He couldn't believe his eyes. How could there be such a terrifying master in the current Jianghu? You don't need to know. Li Fan gave him one last warning. If you leave now, I can spare your life. This was what Zhang Bo had said earlier, and now it was being used on Zhang Bo himself. But Zhang Bo looked at Li Fan coldly. Do you think this is all this king's combat power is? You're just missing an arm. This seat can still kill you. With that, the true chi on Zhang Bo's body suddenly became violent, and the dark red true chi slowly turned black. It was as if someone had splashed ink on Zhang Bo's body. It was very obvious. Be careful, Imperial concubine Zhou finally couldn't help but warn him, this is the mysterious devil technique. I didn't expect it to be lost. Mysterious devil technique. Li Fan vaguely remembered that this was the second-ranked martial art in the Divine Technique Manual. This devil technique was said to be created by an expert of the devil sect in the early years, but it was later lost. Those who practiced this devil technique would have their mind damaged, and their temperament would change greatly. But at the same time, they would be invulnerable and their internal force would be strengthened by 10 times. It could be said that it was a kind of forbidden technique. Zhang Bo's body carried a powerful devil qi as he roared again and again. The surrounding objects were pushed away one after another. Even Bai Nansheng, who had astonishing internal force, couldn't help but use his hands to protect himself. As for the iron box in the middle of the room, it seemed to have been hit by the devil qi and suddenly bounced open with a bang. A bronze octagonal beast head mirror directly flew out from inside. Zhang Bo saw it with a glance. He stretched out his right hand and made a suction force in the air. The bronze mirror immediately floated there, slightly trembling in the air as if it was afraid of something. Ha 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 ha. That's right, it's this green soul mirror. With this mirror, this seat's mysterious devil technique will be able to reach a higher level. Put down little blue. Bai Nansheng had already gone crazy. He carried the armchair and pounced towards Zhang Bo. At the same time, he stretched out his hand and pushed out a powerful internal force. Zhang Bo was quite disdainful as he turned his head and shouted at Bai Nansheng. Ha! A wave of air wrapped in black true energy rushed out and directly disintegrated Bai Nansheng's true energy before hitting Bai Nansheng's body. Even though he had true energy protecting his body, Bai Nansheng still suffered a terrible injury. The clothes on his body were all shredded, and the armchair he was sitting on was also shattered into sawdust. And he himself was also blown away, heavily crashing into the wall behind him. His body was embedded in it like a hanging painting. A mere ant dares to be impudent in front of this seat. After Zhang Bo used the devil technique, his internal force and self-confidence all swelled up. With every step he took, the ground would tremble, leaving a deep footprint on the floor, as if a huge beast had passed through. Now, who can stop this seat? Idiot! Li Fan instantly entered the state of Divine Dragon General. Wearing a golden armor, he instantly appeared beside Zhang Bo. Li Fan flew his leg and kicked towards Zhang Bo. Zhang Bo immediately raised his palm and tried to block Li Fan's kick. Bam! Zhang Bo's palm collided with Li Fan's flying leg. Zhang Bo was sent flying and slid for more than 3 meters before he stabilized his body. And Li Fan was also sent flying. He somersaulted twice in the air before barely landing on the ground and stabilizing his body. At the same time, his calves were still trembling. Zhang Bo's devil technique is a bit terrifying. His white deer reverse kick to the door was actually knocked back. Good boy, this seat has really underestimated you. Zhang Bo's eyes were already blood red. He looked at Li Fan with a mocking smile. This golden armor and the white deer kick just now have already exposed your identity. Little tyrant Li Fan, I didn't expect to meet you here. How interesting. Little tyrant Li Fan. He Chi-Chi and the escorts were a little surprised. This was the gold medal escort. The infamous little tyrant Li Fan in the escort industry? Heavens! To actually meet him. But the two of them did not look alike at all. Could it really be a disguise technique? Uncle Wang suddenly had a realization. He heard that Li Fan was proficient in the abnormality bone-changing technique. It seemed like the rumors were true. So what if I am, so what if I am not? Li Fan was like a divine general descending from the sky. He stood there and stretched out his hand. Extraordinary sword flew out and landed in his palm, making him look very impressive. Chapter 909. Li Fan, even if you didn't come, I would still have gone to kill you. Zhang Bo raised his right hand and condensed a black fireball in his palm. Today is just the right time to settle old and new grudges together. With that, Zhang Bo shot out the fireball towards Li Fan. Li Fan gathered his true qi in his eyes. He saw that the power of the black fireball was about 10 to 20 times that of an ordinary red fireball. If he rashly touched it, he would most likely suffer. Li Fan's true qi gathered on his right hand. The entire golden armor began to compress, condensing into a golden gauntlet that draped over Li Fan's right hand. Everything stop. Li Fan's right hand touched the black fireball. He had already analyzed the fireball's data. The moment he touched it, his true qi immediately surged into it and instantly disintegrated its power. Bam! The black fireball directly turned into nothingness and dissipated into the air. What? Zhang Bo was shocked. He never thought that his black fireball would be destroyed just like that. Impossible. Little Overlord Li Fan truly lived up to his name. Ever since the battle with Murong, not only was this guy not affected, he had become even more powerful. How did he train his skills? Did he use a cheat code? True Dragon Hand. Li Fan once again raised his right hand that was covered in armor. The surrounding true qi began to fluctuate. The treasured swords that were previously inserted in the surroundings were suddenly pulled out. A total of 8 swords were lined up beside Li Fan. The current Li Fan was more like a sword immortal. Using true qi to control treasured swords, this was the second time Chi had seen such a cool technique. Although Bai Nanxing had used it before, it seemed to be even more cool when used by Li Fan. Go! Li Fan pointed at Zhang Bo. The 8 treasured swords immediately turned around and flew towards Zhang Bo. Humph. Insignificant skill. Zhang Bo didn't seem to care about Li Fan's 8 swords. He stretched out his hand and pushed out his fire palm. The flaming palm expanded infinitely in the air, forming a 2-meter-wide flaming palm that collided with the 8 swords. Boom! Out of the 8 swords, 7 were burnt to ashes. The remaining one pierced through the flames and arrived in front of Zhang Bo in an instant. Zhang Bo didn't expect that he would be tricked by Li Fan. Of the 8 swords, only one contained true power. The other 7 were just a smokescreen. The power of a point was greater than that of a surface. Li Fan's attack was focused on a single point, so it was easy for him to break his own attack. Pooh! Zhang Bo dodged in a panic, but the sword still grazed his lower abdomen on the left side, penetrated the wall behind him, and escaped into the air. However, Li Fan frowned because his sword had only scratched Zhang Bo's lower abdomen and left a small trace of blood. Zhang Bo's mysterious demonic power had greatly enhanced his defensive power, making his body extremely hard. The current Zhang Bo's body might be even harder than steel. Hee, although your attack is a bit powerful, you are still not this lord's opponent. After Zhang Bo revolved the mysterious demonic power, he was very confident in himself. Li Fan, you are a thorn in the side of solipsism. Today, you must die here. After saying that, Zhang Bo revolved his demonic power and unceasingly launched attacks at Li Fan. Even with only one arm, Zhang Bo's attack rhythm was still very complete. After all, with a powerful demonic power to protect his body, Zhang Bo was very confident in his own body. Zhang Bo's consecutive palm strikes finally arrived in front of Li Fan. His palm struck towards Li Fan's forehead. Die! Zhang Bo continuously suppressed Li Fan. This move was a sure kill. However, Li Fan suddenly laughed, causing Zhang Bo's heart to jump wildly. Why? After being suppressed for so long, he could still laugh before his death. Li Fan's body suddenly accelerated, exceeding Zhang Bo's expectation. At the same time, he dodged Zhang Bo's palm and then used Dianhe with his right hand, poking the acupoint under Zhang Bo's armpit. Zhang Bo's body suddenly stiffened and fell into a short period of stiffness. Although it was very short, it was enough for Li Fan. All things stop. Li Fan's right hand suddenly clasped the top of Zhang Bo's head. Zhang Bo did not have time to react. The true qi in his body instantly dissipated. It was as if it had been removed. Zhang Bo was greatly shocked. Li Fan's all things stop used the power of his true dragon hand to forcefully remove the opponent's energy. No matter what kind of energy, under the effect of Li Fan's all things stop, it could be removed for 3 to 4 seconds. Speaking of which, it was more like the utilization of dragon toad absorption. In the past, Li Fan's dragon toad absorption had 2 methods. One was to absorb the opponent's true qi, the other was to imbue the opponent with his own true qi. But as Li Fan's realm increased, he discovered that true qi was also a kind of energy. Humans replenished their energy by absorbing food. At the same time, the human body had tens of thousands of pores, excreting more energy through metabolism, leaving only a small amount to drive the body. If these pores were closed, the human's energy would be 100% used. Li Fan could now control the closure of his pores through aberration bone change, but he could not maintain it for too long. Because after the pores were closed, although he could use 100% of the energy, it would consume his body's functions at a high speed. With Li Fan's ability, he could only use it for about a minute. But if he used this technique in reverse, he could use the opponent's pores to instantly dissipate the energy in the opponent's body. He could maintain it for about 3 to 4 seconds, then the opponent's pores would return to normal, and the true qi in the body would return. But for Li Fan, 3 to 4 seconds was enough to do a lot of things. Zhang Bo, goodbye. Li Fan tricked Zhang Bo into advancing, then dissipated his true qi and kicked his calf. Pfft. Zhang Bo knelt on the ground from the kick. If it weren't for his strong physique, this kick would have broken his calf. But Zhang Bo also lost his balance. He knelt down, and Li Fan's knee directly hit his cheek. Pfft. Another muffled sound rang out, and 2 of Zhang Bo's teeth were broken. He was sent flying and fell hard on the ground, his face covered in blood. One of Zhang Bo's eyeballs had been smashed. He lay there, unable to even speak. He did not dare to accept the fact that he had suffered a crushing defeat. He clearly had a chance to win. Li Fan, this kid, was so sinister. He actually tricked me into advancing. Zhang Bo wished that time could go back. If he made a move again, he would definitely be able to kill Li Fan. But there was no time to regret. Li Fan walked over step by step, preparing to finish off Zhang Bo. But at this time, Zhang Bo stretched out his hand and suddenly touched the green soul mirror. Zhang Bo's single eye suddenly opened, and a smile appeared on his bloody mouth. Ha 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 ha, even the heavens are helping me,